Okay, good evening, good morning, and hello. This is the Not Your Shield account on Twitter, and welcome to another Gamergate stream. So, this is Gamergate Ethnic Edition, if you paid attention to the title, and it's going to be interesting because this time, instead of just strictly women of Gamergate, and it's not like the special stream with the people who shared their stories, this is literally going to be any person of color, any person with an ethnic background who's a part of Gamergate. And while this may sound strange, especially since it sounds like we're alienating white people, that's not the point. The point is to get specifically ethnic people because obviously a lot of the girls who were on the Women of Gamergate stream, they were white, of course. So this isn't to take aims at straight white guys. I'm not necessarily saying there'll be a stream for straight white guys either, but the point is that the part of Not Your Shield is to represent the ethnic people, the minorities, the women, etc. And before I get anyone else in here, since I don't think anyone else, has messaged me just yet, I'll give you a quick story. It's funny because whenever you get into situations with sort of the SJW mentalities, people will often start taking aims at you, say something like, you straight cis white male scum or whatever. And it's funny because I was talking to someone, and this is on like some FGC related thing, fighting game community related thing, and they basically said to me like, what would you know? You're just speaking from the straight white male perspective. And I instantly replied saying, "Hey, I'm actually black, so you might want to tone down that vitriol you got there." So it's as simple as that. Anyway, my blathering aside, it's time to get some people in here. Remember, if you are interested in joining the stream, message me at Not Your Shield, and we can get people in here and get them to start discussing stuff. Okay, so give me a second while I see if I can get someone in here. I kind of wish the Twitter PM messaging system was easier, but then again, it's a fail-safe, so people don't just get random messages from just about anyone. So it's an annoying system, but quite frankly, it works much better than just people sending you private messages at random. So for the moment, I'm gonna what's his name? I'm gonna start getting people in here. Okay, okie doke. Oh,
Hey,
we got our first contributor. Yes, welcome.
hey, man. Long time no hear, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the best way of putting it.
Well,
So, the answer
I'm
to the question that I require is, what does Gamergate mean to you?
all right. What does Gamergate mean to me as a person or as a gamer?
I'd say is whatever, really.
Well, I mean, to me as a person, I mean, actually, they're synonymous, really. Me as a gamer would say I stand for Gamergate because I think it is time to clean up some of the issues that have been building over the years, and some of the BS we had to live with, and not just the community or the accusations that we're getting, but also the industry itself, how the industry is conducting themselves. I think that was also a lot of built up stress that we gamers had to take. I'm talking about pre-orders and DLCs, skyrocketing in price and whatnot. But to me, as a person, especially now, the Not Your Shield movement is very important because it gives people like me or people of color that are gamers kind of a voice, and kind of it's been a long time since I've seen that a community openly accepting everyone, because when I started, for instance, when I was a new fag on 4chan or half-chan, I found the community not very welcoming until I slowly but surely understood the culture, and now what we have is really people coming out in support of each other. So I would say it is very important to me personally as well in that regard.
Nice, it's good to hear. And we just got another person who just joined. I'm not sure how to say your name, and I won't attempt it. So just go ahead and introduce yourself.
It's Makoto. Just call me Makoto. Is my mic coming out well?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay, great.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, Long-time listener, first time calling in.
Nice. So the question is, what does Gamergate mean to you?
Two things. Well, as a gamer, been following this, whole journalism thing, like through Kotaku. Been a big fan of Kotaku just for I'm a digital artist, so I've been following Kotaku for their. They usually post some art and stuff, but then slowly their what's it called? Their political agenda started creeping in into the other articles about how the Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5's design is sexist and whatnot and stuff, and I got really interested and curious about it. Then I'm following this, and I see how far this rabbit hole goes, and I'm more really curious for one thing. And as a person, I don't like being called misogynist, and I don't want other these middle class white people tell me how I should feel about certain games. And as an artist, they want to censor what I should do and what not to do. So.
Okay. And it's funny that you mention that, because a lot of the time they always try to focus on women, but it always becomes a slippery slope when they mention ethnic minorities, because it's like, that thing where it's like replace the word woman with black person or whatever, and then you see how funny it sounds. And this happens a lot, because just like with women, and the women of Gamergate said this, they have this annoying habit of basically saying that oh, this is what a person of color would like, this is what a black person would like. No, they wouldn't. You don't even talk to these people.
I actually know exactly where you're coming from on that. It seems so strange for me that these 20-something, most of them probably even white, people just start speaking for people that may actually have had real ethnic struggle in their life. I mean, I've had some real ethnic struggle in my life, but I learned how to deal with it over time, and to slowly but surely accept, okay, not everyone is as educated, or not everyone is as tolerant, but I'm just going to try to be the best person I can be, so I'll be accepted no matter what. And then hearing these people speak for us that we're apparently so oppressed and so hated and so, I'm like, wait a minute, you haven't lived the struggle that we have lived, so what exactly are you talking about, bro?
Precisely. And the funny thing is, because people may think, and for our listeners who aren't sure, just like there's controversies with women in games, there's the occasional controversy with ethnic people in games. For example, I remember when the Resident Evil 5 one is the one everyone knows, where Resident Evil 5 had its first trailer, and it was Chris Redfield, punching a bunch of black zombies in Africa, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's so racist! A white guy punching black zombies."
The weird thing is, I enjoyed Resident Evil so much, I was like, killing niggas, fuck yeah.
It's begun, guys, it's begun. Anyway, basically, when I heard that, I was like, this is ridiculous. He's in Africa, of course he's punching black people. He's not going to be punching more white people or Italians or whatever. He was in Spain. Oh no, Italian, Spanish people. He was in Spain, and RE4 and he was punching Spanish people, so I'm sure it's common sense that he'd be.
And also the thing is, he's been in Raccoon City full of other white people, and he's been shooting and killing them for years. And all of a sudden, a black person gets hurt, and they're like, "Oh, bad."
Aha! This is hypocrisy right there. That's their hypocrisy, because it's just like with men and women in games. You kill hundreds of men in games, and the second a woman so much as gets slapped, it's a controversy.
I mean, actually, when I get the chance, sometimes, actually, I think when I started playing Call of Duty Ghosts, I immediately made a female avatar, because I was like, oh, I now have the choice. But I mean, the game runs so shit anyway, so I stopped playing it immediately. But I was like, oh, finally we have the choice. But I don't see how it makes any difference to the game. It's just cosmetic, bro. The mechanics are the same. So I really didn't see where the benefit or the issue was in that regard. And as for many games choosing conflicts that have to do with killing people of 50 Shades of Brown, it seemed to me that it doesn't really matter what you're target is. All you need to know is that, that's your enemy or whatever. But at the same time, I find it interesting is, why is it racist? Actually, it makes it more interesting because that's kind of where the conflict zones are. So if your opponents are, brown or black or whatever, I don't see the conflict as long as it's fun. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably also, trying to say, hey, look, this is a conflict zone in real life or whatever. So why is it a problem that you're shooting black people? It's just the same as if you would be shooting white people. It's just ones and zeros.
Here's my thing. If anybody's played Resident Evil 2, one of the people that got zombified, and I'm Jagos, by the way, so sorry to interrupt, but
It's fine.
the main thing is, in Resident Evil 2, one of the people that was telling you to go and check it for survivors in one of the other rooms was a black guy. He was a cop. So how was it a big deal when it happened in Resident Evil 5, where it's an entire country of black people, versus Resident Evil 2, it's one or two, and there's a whole bunch of white people running around. I never quite understood it.
It's true because that's what happens. The thing that these people don't get is like saying, oh, it's racist to shoot black people, so in essence they're basically saying, oh, we should make more white people to shoot, or it's sexist to shoot at women, so we should make more men to shoot at. It's like they don't get that what they're not saying is just as bad. And the funny thing is, and this is from personal experience, the funny thing is, like, if we're going to cross over into the whole idea of representation, a lot of people don't seem to get this, and I don't know why they don't get it. Just like women don't necessarily need women to enjoy a game, black people don't necessarily need black people in a game to enjoy it, because that's retarded. That's like assuming every black guy plays DJ in Street Fighter. But we don't.
Well, Dudley is beast, so...
No, Dudley's cool. Like, Dudley's perfectly fine, but...
Keep it classy, son.
Like, no, here's the thing. Like, can you imagine if you're watching a fighting game stream and every black guy played DJ? Like, come on.
That'd be retarded. I mean, even in Mortal Kombat, I switch it up, just because it's the mechanics that count, not what cosmetics are attached to that, are attached to the movesets. Yeah. So, okay, maybe there might be like a minimum of representation there. It might not be balanced, but the question then also is, does it fit the theme of the game to be balanced in its character selection? And most of the time I would say no.
And I'm one of those guys in Mortal Kombat. I actually cared about the story. I know that sounds hard.
No, that's fair enough.
It's actually fairly solid.
Yeah, like Cabal and how his story was. He was like, a bad guy who turned good and everything, or like Liu Kang and his stuff. He was the typical hero until he got taken out by Quan Chi and what was the other guy? Shang Tsung. And Shang Tsung always had this great villainy where he always backstabbed people. So that was just some of the stuff that I enjoyed. And I rather liked it for the personalities and the story behind it than what I was actually playing. So...
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny to me because a lot of people might wonder why, at least myself, since I'm a guy and I'm a black guy, people might wonder, nobody's actually asked me this directly, but like why I care so much about how women are, feel, or how female gamers are treated in the gaming industry. No, because it's like, put yourself in their shoes, and this often happens, just like how these, SJWs and game journalists are presuming they know what women want. It's just like how people presume they know what ethnic minorities want. Like, put yourself in that position, you realize how annoying and patronizing that is. Like, for example, when that female Thor thing happened, right? And it's all like, oh, female Thor is here to attract more, women and girls to read comics. I'm like, if that was put like, oh, we made Thor black to make more black people read it. It's like, can you see how ridiculous that sounds?
But it's already happened.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I remember Loki turning Thor into females like lots of times in the story.
Yeah, it's already happened.
This time got like the spotlight all of a sudden.
I just sat here like, how sexist can you be? You keep saying that there's not enough female characters, but then you want to change a man into a woman, and suddenly that just makes it 10 times better. I mean, I know that Rule 63 exists for a reason, but dang, is who is going to enjoy Thor now that he has tits?
I mean, the same could be said for I don't know, what is it? Freaking Supergirl. I mean, was she really necessary? I mean, I don't read comics as much. I'm more of a manga guy, but actually, interestingly, interestingly enough, in manga, the women usually appear to be stronger than the males.
True.
And actually, that's a switch that I really enjoy. Just because it makes for more interesting situations sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not full on just fan service, but I mean, who doesn't like fan service?
Oh God, Nami.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's funny you mention like anime and stuff because like it's I know this is a cliche. I'm not sure if you guys will agree, but I swear, like black guys don't really play like black people in games. They always pick like the anime chick at least.
Right. I mean,
they always do.
When I played Mortal Kombat, I tried to play Jax, but then I was like, oh my god, I suck so much at playing Jax. Screw this.
Yeah.
Bro, the only black guy I play in a game is like Jace from Gears of War 3, and that's about it. Being serious, like I don't know. I don't gravitate to black characters because the thing is, that's why I find it so annoying when it's like, oh, let's put women in the game for women to like. I'm like, no, that's like saying let's put black guy in the game for black people to like. But for me, I gravitate to like, hot chicks with guns and spiky-haired dudes with swords. That's why I gravitate to. I don't randomly gravitate to black guys because they're black or whatever. That said, them being black is fine.
I mean.
You never used Barrett in Final Fantasy VII, did you?
No, I never used him in my team. The entire game. I didn't care.
I gotta say, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I was gonna say, don't like the pandering aspect of that. It's like, oh hey, let's just insert to the, this ethnicity or whatever, because it'll appeal to you. Because it's just you need good writing to go with it too. I mean, it's not like, oh hey, we're gonna insert your ethnicity here, you'll magically like it. Type shit.
That is so painful.
Yeah, I mean, if the character doesn't work with or doesn't resonate with you, then usually you won't be really invested in that character, regardless of ethnicity or gender. So, yeah, I mean, I can't really say much more than that.
Right. Okay. So, and since you new guys have joined, we'll ask the question to you guys as well. To who hasn't answered the question of what does Gamergate mean to you? So, pick an order. I don't want to give an order to anyone.
I guess I'll go first. I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. For me, Gamergate is kind of like a burgeoning revolution. If anybody understands what it means, I think it's a little bit more than a consumer revolt. Basically, it's the gamers themselves finally sitting here and standing up and saying, we're not going to take all of this crap anymore. I mean, a lot of them, I know a lot of people sat here and were angry about Mass Effect 3, and I think a lot of this stuff kind of is kind of like the catalyst from that. It's been years and years of just journalists and press sitting here and telling us, look, we don't want you here. We want to sit here and take over your hobby. And that 11 article thing, that 2 minutes of hate, that was just kind of the last straw for a lot of people to sit here and say, you know what, we're going to sit here, we're going to do it ourselves. And I think that's more or less what Gamergate is trying to focus on, creating that gaming community of gamers, by gamers, for gamers.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
And, oh, sorry.
Should I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, Gamergate for me. Well, what I've seen, as a result, honestly, it's Gamergate's a lot of things, but as a result, what I've seen is that, as a game developer, I've seen that this might just be the beginning of the crash. We've been saying this crash has been coming for a while, and what I saw was that this stuff that they've been doing, though it's awful, is apparently necessary. Because that's just, you go on Steam, there's like 1,500 games, how are you going to get noticed, and the answer is you screw some people, you talk to some people, and, you get noticed. And that's kind of just like, And it's
Albeit
starting to
with
kind of like fall back on us, you know. For a while, you know, I'm the kind of, you know, I play games as much as I make them, depending on the day. And, you know, so what I've seen, you know, just being, you know, an ethnic minority, is adding to that. But I'm sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. It's just, you know, I'm seeing this from three perspectives: gamer, you know, racial minority, and last but not least, as a game developer. And what I see is Crash, kind of the same kind of racism to defend sexism. It's like, it's weird, you know, they say misogynist and then they go dox a 10-year-old, you know? Come on, guys, really? Like, what the hell are we doing here, you know? So that's how I see it, you know. So I see that, you know, the gamers are angry, the industry is going to hell, and really, I don't think this is going to leave anytime soon. Maybe Gamergate ends, who knows? But I think whatever is going to happen out of this is definitely just not going to be the same anymore. You know,
Yeah,
Right.
that's a fair assessment.
as Total Biscuit said, you know, it's not even a competition; they've already won. You know, you've seen that on YouTube.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And the thing is, obviously, while I know game journalists can pull a narrative out of thin air, I still have to wonder, where did the cliche of the straight white male gamer begin? Because I feel like gaming's always been diverse. So where did that even begin, personally? That's what I want to know.
I guess it might be the Xbox. Can I just?
Oh yeah, that is fair enough.
Actually, I think I was just listening to like Spells Fired on Twitch, and there was a what is that? A developer who was sitting here answering questions. And what it is in the 90s, that was the main demographic. So what is happening is the market research that they have is about, what, 10 years old? Mm-hmm. Because in the 90s, that was the main demographic of people that were playing games. Now, I know everybody here is probably older than 20, 25 or anything. So all of you all were gamers, but as you can see, a lot of people were focusing on this demographic for so long that it's become that culture. This is the demographic for the hardcore male or hardcore demographic, and I think the casual gamers, they're the ones that they really don't understand at all. So the developers are kind of like stuck in this what do I want to say? They're kind of closed off from reality. They don't understand the market anymore and how diversified it's become.
Well,
also that's the thing. Like, it's ironic that, you know, that study came out recently where that how females are about 52% of the gaming population now, but they
Including
still
mobile,
don't know the female population now. Like, what was the point of that study then?
Well, here's the thing about the ESA studies. I've been looking at them since 1993 when, you know, Joe Lieberman and everybody was going on. Women have been, like, at the 40, 50%. And you have to understand, the ESA is funded by the big 7, like, different companies, like EA, Squaresoft, and everything. They do market research for them. So it's going to be outdated, and they want to make gamer as loosely defined as possible. So that's one of the things that I go into a lot on my site, my channel, plug. But the fact of the matter is, it's like when you look at the ESA statistics and everything, they've been consistent from 43% to 49%. They make it whatever they want. And like Christina Summers says in her video, anybody can pretty much be a gamer as long as they play games for like 1 hour or something like that.
And part of that, you know, the problem with the game industry right now is that we just don't tell anyone anything about our sales statistics, you know. I was at the IGDA, they have their own, like, monthly things in each individual city. Each one has their own chapter. And there was a period where they just said, all right, you can't talk about this part. And it was understandable. They started talking about sales statistics. And that's the first time I've ever had, like, heard actual numbers from an indie ever. They never say who's doing what, you know. Even in Hollywood, you know exactly who's watching, how much they're watching, how many people watched this, on what freaking day they watched it too, you know. But for Steam, for things like that, we just don't know. We never know. Apple won't tell us, you know. The only people who will tell us is the self-reporters who are like EA or something, because they have to tell their, you know, they're public companies and they have to tell their board. But everyone else won't tell anyone anything. So how do we know what works? You know, they say Gone Home bombed, but who knows that? Like, who knows if Fez was successful? You know.
Apparently, I think Fez was somewhat successful. I mean, they got a hell of a promotion. I mean, I can't imagine how they were not successful with the promotion that they got, and you know, the collusion that went with the what was it, Indie Games, the award thing?
Indiecade.
Yeah, Indiecade, yeah. But also you have the movie, the what is it called?
Double.
Right, Indie Game the movie, and you have Super Meat Boy and Fez in there. Actually, I have to rewatch it and just readjust my view on that movie. I actually enjoyed it the first time, but I have to rewatch and just see how big of a cunt Phil Fish actually is.
Wow.
That aside, sorry, but right, he got promotion through that as well. So it is very questionable if he didn't sell. But I mean, if he didn't sell just because the game is crap, I don't know if the game is crap. Apparently it works for now. If it's compelling or not, I have no idea. I've never played it, but I think it might have sold well.
Yeah, it's one of those games that is just kind of like, it's one of those games that they work to redefine what a gamer is into a player. If you believe all that digress stuff going on. I haven't really looked into that stuff, but...
Oh, you mean how they're trying to reclassify the notion of gamer?
Yeah,
Your player.
Yeah, I'm trying to read, like, Tech Raptor's orthodoxy articles, which I recommend everybody listen to, because that's what I usually use as a basis, and it was like, that's where I learned about the player thing, because I didn't read all 11 articles or anything that was coming out. But, you know, that was the instance that Gamergate started for me, at least, compared to Mundane Matt getting censored way back in the day.
Well, that was the thing that set me up, man. When what dragged me into this was TFYC. I'm not gonna lie. That's what actually ticked me off. You know?
The Final Capitalist getting shut down, you mean?
No, when I learned what Zoe had said about them, that's what dragged me into this and said, okay, so this is a person who's attacking other people of the same cause. You know, I'm still in college, and I belong to a feminist group, and nobody in that group would ever even consider doing what she did. Period.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, right, not everyone is evil.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, I had found that on Reddit as they were talking about it, and then posted that to Mundane Matt, and then all of a sudden, that same post was over on Internet Aristocrats, and I was like, wow, it got all connected, and I was like, I didn't know the background of the TFYC, but I'm just glad that, you know, because I know a lot of people are trying to say that we hate feminists thanks to Anita Sarkeesian, which, oh my God, don't get me started on that crazy.
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that we hate feminists. It's just that I personally dislike people with stupid arguments or arguments that don't make sense.
Yes.
That is all. Like, if you say something stupid on the internet, prepare your ass, because there are going to be repercussions, and you got to deal with that. And if you can't deal with that and act like a victim the entire time, even though it's just simple criticism, and if you can't take it, get off.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that.
Careful.
I
got a microphone.
Yeah, but like, it's funny you mentioned that, because there's this like mass hysteria that like, oh my God, I went on the internet, I said something, and people criticized me for it. It's like, are you, like, look, the thing about gamers that we've known for the longest time is you open your mouth on the internet, some stuff people are going to say to you is going to be nasty. Not all of it, but some people are going to go nuts. And the fact that I feel like people can't deal with that, and I'm not saying like even just like women or whatever, I'm saying like anyone complaining that, oh, they said something on the internet and they got a nasty response. Think about it. Some of these people have like, we're talking like game devs, game journalists. They have like hundreds of thousands of followers. 10 when you hit the 10K follower count, people are gonna just go nuts. If you say anything, they're
Right.
gonna rip you apart.
And as a person using the internet for that has been basically growing up with the internet, one thing I've really learned from the internet is you need to know how to take criticism. And if not, or even if you do take that criticism, make sure that your retort is well formulated and so you don't sound like a babbling idiot. And you just gotta take criticism because you're not gonna survive very long on the internet, nor is your mental health going to survive very long if you can't take criticism.
Yeah, exactly. You're precisely right about that. Okay, let's see now. Okay, so everyone here has answered the question about
I have.
what Gamergate means.
I've just been kind of
right?
sitting silently, trying to get in.
Okay, alright, go ahead.
There we go.
Right, so for me, the Gamergate movement just represents the backlash that has been building up by not just the shitty clickbait journalism from like the Kotaku and all these web journals, but also the more AAA sphere of things like EA being shit and the BioWare thing.
Right.
The big all 3 flavors of Kool-Aid and you're entitled, or like the weird political shielding they did with like the homosexuals.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with the SimCity.
They already did that with women in general. Then they sit here and ramp it up with gays, and then they sit here and ramp it up with the whole rape thing that they just did recently. I'm like, are y'all a company of making games, or are y'all a political group? Which is it?
They can't decide.
And for me, one of the problems with Gamergate is that it is politically charged, even though it wants to be neutral.
Right, but
Yeah.
you can't really help that when you start diving into these subjects. So it becomes a very a difficult struggle to separate those two, and I think by now you can't really do that anymore, or not as effectively as previously.
Well, there was that infamous thing that happened yesterday between.
It's political now.
Sorry.
I'm asking if that's wrong. Like Gamergate is having a political slant now.
Well, can I just, Sargon and Akkad and King of Paul and Pixel Jenny were talking yesterday, and Pixel Jenny was throwing out the bait and they took it, and it suddenly became political. And this whole we need to take a step back from one of the things that's starting to kind of bother me is that people are saying more feminists and less social justice warrior. That's a difference. If you're going to say I don't like feminism, that means something completely different than saying I don't like social justice warriors. And that's where you're going to lose your crowd if you say I don't like feminism. So even if you don't, I wouldn't say it. And honestly, I'm a feminist, whatever the hell. But what I don't like about social justice warriors is that they don't actually care about the issue. They care about themselves, which is what Gamergate was, what I thought was against.
I think. Sorry.
Yeah.
If I may interject, actually, since Tumblr is the breeding ground for that, the Hugbox kind of makes that thing possible, because being a social justice warrior makes you feel better about yourself, because you have the mindset of thinking that you're changing the world in that sense. That is actually their ultimate goal, is to change the world to their mindset of absolute political correctness. And I've actually, in my country, there's been multiple discussions about political correctness, and because we have a political party that is also very right-wing. But even with that party, you can still have a civilized conversation, believe it or not. I have, from personal experience, I can say that. But nonetheless, over political correctness actually then it muddies the waters and really destroys any substance that might have been there.
yeah, there's that emphasis on suck it up, really. I mean, not to be a jerk, not to be like, I mean, the fact that, you know, you'll be called whatever is bad. I don't like it. You know, harassment's bad. But I mean, you know, all throughout middle school, I had every single horrible thing thrown at me every time I got on the freaking bus, you know, and I got ticked off, and I said, yeah, that's awful. And it's not like I'm just a great guy, just like, yeah, whatever, you know. I mean, obviously it hurt. But here's the thing, I'm not going to suddenly start saying, you know, I'm Arab for the record. And I'm not going to suddenly say, like, hey, guys, you can't make anything in the desert. That's illegal, you know. You're going to hurt me there. I'm like, I mean, yeah.
Like, for the most part, when people, like, I know we have a lot of, like, Gamergate has attracted a lot of right-wingers. It's kind of like, say, I know a few, I think, what was it, James, you were in Europe, right?
Yes, I live in Central Europe.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like, I've been doing a little bit of studying of Europe. When you have one group in power, like, say, liberals in power, everyone's kind of moves right-wing, because you can't express your opinion with that right-wing party or left-wing party. And then when the conservatives are in power, like, say, in France, the socialists were in power. In Germany or whatever, the right wing is in power, so they move left. That's kind of how it goes, and that's the dynamics that you're seeing here. Since this is more affiliated with left-wing liberalism, with the feminists in power and kind of controlling the social justice warrior movement, everybody's the people that are speaking out more happen to be like more libertarians and the the conservatives. Whereas, you know, I'm a socialist. I look at both of them and I'm like, guys, stop talking about cultural Marxism. Y'all don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
liberalism.
I'm a socialist myself. I mean, my country was, or especially the capital of my country was called the Red City for a long time. Especially, I mean, it was spared after World War II. Let's see if you can figure that out if you're a history buff. But what we have is we have the Green Party, then we have the Socialist Party, then we have the Conservative Party, and then we have the right-wing parties, and then some other smaller parties that are in between. But the way the politic dynamics, it's actually literally a lot of shit flinging on everyone's part. Everyone's kind of making fun of everyone, and everyone's just trying to demean each other's points, which is also a reason why I don't vote there anymore. I just don't have the power. I just don't want to vote anymore. I just want to recuse myself from the bullshit that's happening there. But either way, I kind of forgot where I was going with this.
Yeah, well, one of the things in the political aspect is, you know, here in the U.S. it's kind of very dichotic and very factionalized, so I think it's just more... The reason of them jumping in is just to be contrarian and get the attention than anything else. Because, you know, it's like, oh... Because if you go to those super liberal-leaning or super conservative-leaning sites, it's just... You're always going to get, like, a bunch of shit-flinging articles that are just meant to get vitriol, and you can, like, watch the retarded comments from the other sides just pile on into, like, 16 pages of clusterfucking.
Yeah, it's a weapon of mass distraction.
Quite.
Right, so guys, sorry to cut you off, but since there's way more enthusiasm for this than I thought, I'm going to have to rotate the callers, so thank you all for joining, and we'll get some more people in.
All right.
So thank you all for joining and contributing. Right. So
can I just, like, leave the last kind of thing about me?
Oh, sure. Go ahead if you want to say something.
Please. Yeah, so it's just the thing about Gamergate. We gotta have to, like, you know, politics is great, but this is not, like, we have to watch what kind of politics we're playing. You know, if we're gonna suddenly make this a liberal versus conservative debate, I mean, I'm liberal, I'm extremely liberal, I'm independent registered, but, you know, I don't want to hear, you know, liberals are stupid or whatever. You have to understand these are extremists. These are not feminists. These are, like, ridiculous. Like, Anita Sarkeesian is not feminist. She's an extremist. Well, like, it's like saying, you know, I'm also Muslim. It's like going like, you know, Osama bin Laden is not Muslim. He's an extremist. He's ridiculous. You know.
Just a quick interjection. I apologize, but I'd say Anita, Zoe Quinn, and all these people, they're social conservatives. They're more or less I call them fundamental feminists. You
Right.
know, and because they're more about their politics as a religion than actual reasoning or anything. They don't want peer review. They listen to the scripture. The scripture is Anita Sarkeesian's word and anything else. And that's kind of why I sit here and call them a cult of personality, fundamental feminist, etc., etc. So
I'm still
right.
under the impression that they're only in here for themselves, honestly. You know.
yeah.
All right, so guys, as I said, sorry, as I said, I don't want to do this, but y'all gonna have to leave because we have more people we need to call.
All right.
So.
Getting kicked
Y'all
out.
take care.
All right.
Thanks for
Stocking, all right, good.
Woo, thanks.
All right, thank you all. Okay, I'm trying to get
All
the
right.
next bunch of people in. So.
I'm gonna say peace out then, right?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
No problem, and I hope the stream goes well. Let's not get screwed over in the butt. So, thanks for having me. Peace.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Okie doke. Let's see now. I'm currently sending out the next batch of invites, so hopefully in a second. Okay, whew, man. Alright, so good conversation so far. It's pretty good. And hopefully, wait. It's a Google Plus. I should probably. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so hopefully we'll get some new people in a second. The invites have gone out, so I'm just waiting on the people who send me messages on Twitter. Okay, I'm not sure if this person is still here, but I shall send a message to them and see if they can join. Not sure if they can, but we'll see. Let's see now. Quelled. Sorry for the downtime, but obviously with rotating people out, we need to wait for them to get in here, and then once they get in here, they can start sharing their stories. Okie doke. Oh, okay, we got someone. Hello there. Hello, Jonathan. I think his mic is muted. Sorry. So we'll just give him a second. We'll give a minute for the rest of the people to join. Oh, we got someone else too.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. My bad. It's saying my microphone's not working for some reason.
Yeah, it keeps muting itself, like, on my screen. I can hear you, but it keeps muting itself, strangely enough.
Alrighty. Well, anyways, I just wanted to comment. Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Like I was gonna say, I just want to share my, I would say my views on Gamergate. I'm actually in Mexico right now, and I'm drawing a lot of parallels between what's going on with Mexican journalism and what's it called, and video game journalism, especially with nepotism and a whole lot of other stuff. I don't know if I could cuss. Can I?
Well, keep it to a minimal. that's all I can say.
Yeah, my bad. I cuss a lot.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up in the state, and hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I don't know. Google Plus is pretty weird for me. Anyways, I could draw a lot of parallelisms from what's it called, Gamergate, and what's going on with the Mexican media, especially with the cartels kind of enforcing this unhidden rule where if you report on them, you will be abducted and you will be killed. I know it sounds strange, but I could draw a lot of parallelisms with this, especially with what's going on in Gamergate. I mean, if we take a look at what happened with Steve Tom Sawyer, we actually realize what's going on, and we actually find out that there's a lot of what's it called, cronyism, or nepotism, and if you don't follow us, we're going to destroy your career, which is what's going on with the cartels, except now it's with lives.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And personally...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's pretty crazy because I mean obviously a lot of what's happening in Gamergate happens in a lot of other circles, like in terms of like just and anything to do with some kind of authoritative figure that has influence on others. And that's why a lot of people aren't surprised by what's happening. That's why we have so much support from different people, from like conservatives, leftists, feminists, etc. So it's interesting to
Ex-
hear that these
ex-
kind of things happen in other countries too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, personally, me, I was born in the United States. I came down to Mexico to study. What's it called at a university down here in Monterrey, Mexico. And I've noted, and to be honest, I've told my friends about it, and they told me this isn't right. I've told my friends in the U.S. back on Facebook and everything, and they told me that it's not right. And I'm seeing both left, what is it called? Leftist, or I should say lefties and righties, joining up and saying this isn't right. And personally, to me, I mean, I'm in the guy. I'm sorry. That's just I'm kind of nervous speaking
I don't worry
for
about
the
it.
first time. I'm actually an egalitarian. I believe in equal rights for everyone across the board, but I don't believe in special privileges just because you happen to be different. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
And
what you're saying.
and to be honest, me, I'm a libertarian. I believe in both social issues, but at the same time, when it comes down to businesses, I don't want somebody, to be knocking down my door just because I said, or just because I made something that is, a little bit controversial or so forth.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right. Okay, since the other one, we just got a person who joined in. The other guy hasn't had a chance to speak, so let's let him go.
Yeah, my bad.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, hi. So, yeah, thanks for calling in. And basically, obviously, the question you need to answer is, what does Gamergate mean to you?
Well, I think that's. I mean, I want to say that's a really broad
It
question.
It is. I admit it is.
But all right, I understand though. Actually, when it started, we all know how it started. When it started, the first thing that actually got me into it was the censorship. When I saw the DMCA takedown of Matt's video.
Yeah.
And that kind of set me off. But it was like, okay, that's not that big a deal. Then Wolf Wozniak came out, and that was probably the biggest. Like when I saw that kind of set me over the edge. Where Wolf Wozniak, or he was saying that he was at the wedding and that he was sexually harassed, and Phil Fish went off on him.
Yeah.
That completely drove me mad. You can't do that kind of shit. And then I'm sorry, I have a dirty. You have this double standard that goes on, and it's really, really bad. And that really kind of that kind of threw me over the edge. Then I don't know. I mean, there's just so much. But as a whole, Gamergate means to me. Well, obviously, there's ethics in journalism. I want to read an article and know that I'm not going to spend $60 on a game that's absolutely terrible because they got paid a little bit on the side, or they got paid for publicity, or they were best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the second thing, I think, well, I say Gamergate was a big eye-opener for me, where I used to consider myself like a social justice warrior. I thought that a social justice warrior was a social justice activist, which I consider myself a social justice activist. So when I joined, I was like, wow, these people really hate social justice warriors, so they probably hate me, and that was actually kind of, like it kind of put me off, and I was kind of on the fence. I was kind of on the wall, and then I realized, holy hell, these are not the same people. They don't represent the same thing I represent. These social justice warriors are like an extreme, just far off from the norm. Now, and I say I'm a social justice activist, and people are like, well, there's no such thing as social justice, it's just justice. No, there is racism that exists, and there is, there are social issues that need addressing. There are problems with minorities that do exist, whether people want to admit them or not. And there's a lot of people that are saying, oh no, there's not. Well, there's some people that will try to argue that there's nothing there, and it's just the liberal Kool-Aid. I'm a liberal. I don't care.
Okay.
But I do believe that these issues exist. If it wasn't, then we wouldn't have Trayvon. We wouldn't have Ferguson. We wouldn't have that guy just a few days ago that just got shot in the Walmart for holding a BB gun in an open carry state.
Wow.
These are real issues, and those are the things that I worry about. Those are the things that I care about. And these social justice they don't give a shit about that. The social justice warriors, these SJWs, they don't care about that. And I finally realized it now, like what they care about is like making themselves look good. I don't know. I don't know what their end game in all of this is.
It's honestly, that's what I realized that as well. But the thing is, you realize that they're just in it for themselves. And the part of what makes Not Your Shield is important is because, women, ethnic minorities, they don't want to be the shield for people to get away with whatever, because these people aren't actually out to help anyone. They will use any political ideology, any demographic, any group of people basically, push a point forward. And if that group of people disagrees, then they'll just insult you, they'll dox you, they'll just ignore you. That's the problem. Like, these people are literally in it for themselves. They're in it for the money, social standing, whatever. Cronyism, it doesn't matter. These people literally will just find any excuse to get ahead. So that's the problem.
Yeah, and I noticed this, and I noticed that when yesterday I was talking to one of these SJWs, and I said, there's a difference between social justice activism, or social justice activists, and social justice warriors. And after we had a back and forth, it was a white woman. After we had a back and forth, it went from this thing about being racist to then she switched it to misogyny. Now I'm just a gamer, bro. And, it really pisses me off. Like, all right, I do understand that there are problems that women have in America. There is a problem. There are problems that women have in America.
Yeah. But
on the grand scale, on the international scale of things, I've been to Yemen. I lived there for 6 months when I was 16. And, when you go to Yemen and you see women working, they're sex slaves. There's no other way to put it. They have an open border with a lot of African countries, Somalia, Ethiopia, and these women, they come in and they they basically sell their bodies for 10 cents and 20 cents. And that's real oppression. That's really happening. Those are real issues. And just like whether some lady in a video game has big tits or whatever, that's not important. To me, it's not important. To me, it's a video game. And I really think that what these people are doing is that they are indoctrinating a whole group of youth, people that are new to this, people that normally wouldn't care. That they would normally just go about their day. They'd go on with their video games and that'd be the end of it. They're never really going to care about the social issues. They're indoctrinating these people to hate social justice. Because just as a lot of people on the SJW side don't realize that there's a difference between social justice activism and SJW and social justice warriors, there's also a lot of people on let's say the gamer side who don't realize that there's that difference and that those people don't represent what other people want. And it really it boggles my mind. And then even other things where you go there, and this is back in my dad's country still, in Yemen, where people are working for 6 cents to like clean a house. Like they clean your entire house for 6 cents, and
wow.
That's what people do all day. I mean, yeah, we lived in a pretty big place. But about 2 houses down from us, there was like basically a guy with a mansion. He owns like a hotel or a couple hotels in Las Vegas and like a couple hotels in Yemen. And this guy had about 7 to 10 people working for him at like any one time, cleaning up the house, cleaning up around the house. He probably paid them 10 cents to do all that work, like each. Less than 10 cents. I say about 10 reals is roughly like 6 cents, 5 cents, 6 cents. So, I mean, these people are like, that's real oppression. That's basically slavery still going on today. And people are worried about, like some of the little issues that people worry about, just it really drives me over the edge, and it dilutes what these meanings are. Like every time I hear someone say this thing is misogynist, some guy on a video game called this lady a whore, holy shit, he's misogynist. Like, dude, he doesn't hate women. It's a video game. Calm down with that. Like, you're diluting the term. There's real people who can't stand women, who want to kill women. That's a misogynist, not a guy in a video game who calls some lady a whore. Come on now. And the same thing with oppression. Oh my God, somebody looked at me funny, I'm oppressed. No. There's people in Yemen over there. There's people all over the world that are really being oppressed. They're slaves. They're actual slaves. You're working for 5 cents, and now because it's 5 cents, apparently they're not slaves. But no, they're still slaves. They're barely making it by. That's real oppression, and it just kills me that the terms get diluted so much that they're losing their meaning. And lately that's where I've been going, because it's really been aggravating me. Every time I see them misused, I mean, it actually does hurt me. It hurts me to know that there's a lot of people out there that are fighting for rights, fighting for real rights, fighting for equality in a real way, and there are people that are out there fighting to, I don't even know, to make their political standing to force their political standing on everyone. And like, stick to the real issues. It kills me, man. It really does.
No, that's fair enough. I can tell you're heated about this. Okay, so for a while now, we've had a new caller. It says his name's Don't Track Me. Interesting. So we'll give you a chance to talk about what Gamergate means to you. So you can go ahead now. Hello? Okay. Hey. I don't think his mic's working. Hello. Don't track me. I'm talking to you, by the way. I'm not sure if you realize.
His mic muted thing is up, so I'm pretty sure his mic is muted.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he. Oh, there we go. Hello. Can you hear us?
Oh, is it working? Is it working?
Yeah, you're kind of quiet. Hold on, I can turn you off. Give me a sec. There you go.
You hearing any background noise?
A little bit, but I don't think it's too bad.
Oh, thank goodness. No. How about, can you? I'd like to pass on that. There's someone else in the room, and it's going to be a bit embarrassing.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I don't think so.
It's not too bad. Anyway, just go ahead. So explain how what Gamergate means to you.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, watch him.
We'll give him a second.
No, really, please give me a few minutes.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm trying to get someone else in here at the moment, so hopefully she will join soon.
Oh, and the one who's been sending you the direct messages on Twitter, that would be me.
Yeah, I think I just noticed that. The question you asked was, has your ethnicity ever been brought up by an opponent while you were arguing anywhere about Gamergate? Well, that's an interesting question. Okay, I'll give it to the other two guys to answer.
Me personally, I can't really say much. I just feel like they're trying to use this logic where if you're a minority and if you don't agree with them, you're a weaponized minority or a sock puppet. And to me, that it's pretty much going against what these people's values stand for. I mean, they're trying to say you're not a true minority if you don't agree with them, and that's the way I see it. I mean, I don't know if Ahmed. I'm sorry, I don't know if that's your name, bro, but I don't know if Ahmed actually sees it this way as well or not.
I'm Ahmed. Yeah, I'm actually Arabic and Latino, so I get a little bit of both. I was called when I first started. I was talking to. It was actually and this is what really got me. It was about. She's probably about 20-ish, white female. One of the radical feminists, and that's another thing that I don't want to. I need to. I guess eventually we'll need to get into that, but yeah, she called me. I said that I'm part of this. I know why I'm here. I know why this started. I don't care. That doesn't affect me. What does affect me is everything that happened after. And she said, well, what you basically said was, I'm pro-white privilege. I'm pro-white bullying. I'm an Uncle Tom.
Aha, that term alongside weaponized minority, I think, is the most offensive thing. Because it's like as if we can't make up our own minds about stuff, like we're not people or something.
That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. I mean, that's what really gets me mad about these SJWs that are saying, you're oppressed. Apparently, I mean, I can't have my own idea. I respect anybody else's idea. I don't know. For example, Ahmed could say I'm pro-gun, and you know what? That's fine. That's his political beliefs. I personally believe everybody has the right to an opinion, and if that opinion actually contradicts mine, then you know what? So be it. You have the right to express what you want to say. Now, actually, I just want to point out something with Ahmed. One thing that he was saying was that these SJWs are worrying about what's going on, in other countries. I had a friend of mine, or I wouldn't say a friend of mine. I've just met him. This dude from Chile. He actually just pretty much put it the best way I could say it. It's these feminists that are worrying about first world problems in third world countries. I mean, in reality, in Mexico, there is a lot of I wouldn't say racial discrimination nor gender discrimination, but there is a lot of financial inequalities. And one thing we have to realize is that that's our problem. That's as me as a Mexican, that's my problem. I have to worry about it myself. I don't want some other country to come in and say, that's actually X or Y. Or I'm sorry, I'm having like a hard time expressing myself, but I'm trying to get this point. Yeah, I'm trying to get this point across where they should just worry about what's going on with their world and not what's going on in my world.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I definitely see where you're coming from. That we don't. I think it's to do with the whole not your shield thing in general. That nobody likes being spoken for, especially based on something like, your race, your sexuality, your gender, the color of your skin, etc. Like, it's very insulting. And obviously, while them being white doesn't really matter, I feel like that is the biggest bit of hypocrisy, or perhaps not hypocrisy, the biggest bit of irony that a lot of people see from, the game journalists. That the fact that they're predominantly men and they're predominantly white, and they're basically telling everybody else what should and should not offend them. And that's what the girls found funny, and I think that's what, all the ethnic people in general find funny too, that it's a bunch of, maybe we don't know if they're straight or not, who cares, but rather it's a bunch of, white people telling women and minorities how they should feel about stuff. And them being white isn't the problem, but it's like, well, you just made this about gender, you just made this about race, and yet you're not even of, the appropriate race and sometimes gender to make that call. Like, that's not, you shouldn't be talking for people, you should only talk for yourself.
Yes,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say that. Yeah, that really gets me. And then when they say that kind of thing, I think back to like when they talk about, well, we just want more, less racial stereotypes in video games and whatnot. What really gets me is like, okay, since I'm an Arab, there's always bad guys in the Arab video games. Just about every game you're gonna play, every movie you're gonna watch, 90% of the action movies and video games, there's a bunch of bad Arab guys running around screaming Allahu Akbar and shooting people up. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm fine with that. I'd rather shoot 1,000 bad Arab dudes in a video game than have like some made up race, like some bullshit race that they just throw in there just to make me feel better. Like, dude, I can represent myself. If I find a problem with it, I'll make sure my voice is heard with the problem with it, But as far as I'm concerned, that kind of stuff, it just doesn't affect me. Like I know why they did it, I know that right now, it's the flavor of the week to have a bad Arab dude. Just like there's always Germans before. Yeah, and that's what it is. Video games, all right, I say that video games are art. Art is meant to basically mirror real life. And and this is the same thing when they try to bring up, there's misogyny in a post-apocalyptic world. Some guy was telling me, there was there were hookers in Fallout New Vegas, and I don't want my daughter playing that. Dude, how
Your daughter shouldn't be
that's
playing
real.
an M-rated game anyway.
Yeah, seriously. But the point is that it's real life. That if that was to happen, let's just say, do you not think that people would be out there selling their bodies? No. If the world was on the, if Armageddon happened and there was, not very many survivors, I'm sure there would be people out there selling their bodies. Art imitates real life. This is what the artist felt should have happened, so that's what should happen, dude. Just like leave them alone.
Yeah, you're
Leave
right.
them
'Cause,
alone.
I mean, it happens with a lot of aspects. That's why we have stereotypes, cliches, and that's why we have stock characters and NPCs. Because yeah, I get it. Like, you can watch a video like Anita Sarkeesian's latest video and be concerned with how sometimes the women are victimized. But the thing they need to understand is that not every game can treat sensitive topics in focus. Sometimes it has things as just background because it's meant to push the story forward. And while I don't necessarily think any character, men or women, should be victimized unnecessarily, introducing aspects that make us feel uncomfortable are part of what makes the setting of a game. For example, be it your GTA, your Watch Dogs, your could be Saints Row, even Sleeping Dogs. The point is, you play these games. These are all about criminal underworlds and drug dealing and guns and that kind of stuff. Of course, you're going to see a bunch of victimized women. You're going to see a bunch of victimized men. You're going to see people get killed left, right, and center for no reason, because this is imitating what you see in movies and what you sometimes see in real life, where people are unfortunately put in horrible circumstances. And that's a thing. Like, I mean, I know it's not really shown in her videos as much, Anita's videos, but like recently I was playing Deus Ex Human Revolution. Like, even though that's in the future, it kind of deals with a similar aspect. It deals with how like prostitutes are being forced to have augmentations to work their business better, and how some of them are mistreated because of it. And while obviously that's a fantasy scenario, that still mirrors how, like, in real life, like stuff like human trafficking is a very big deal. So unfortunately, these are uncomfortable topics, but just like with the amounts of death that happen in games, these are stuff that games can explore. Okay, so we just got a new person joining in. The name is
Hello?
Traverse Town Zola, which is
Hello?
interesting.
Hello?
Yes, hello there.
Oh, okay, you can hear me.
Yeah, we
I've
can
actually
hear you.
never done this before.
That's okay. So hi, thank you for joining. And so basically, you can tell us, what does Gamergate mean to you?
Gamergate to me is, I know everybody's said it like a million times, but it's really just about ethics. I mean, there's been quite enough evidence to prove that the reporting and the collusion that's been going on and how widespread it is. I mean, it's not even necessarily related to the SJW issues, I guess, that people, it's like, we just want to play games and not be insulted for it. And on the side, I guess, I don't particularly like they said, affluent white men telling me how I feel when I play video games. I mean, I'm in a family of gamers, and no, I've never had anyone once say, like, oh, I can't find any video games to play because everything is so racist and sexist. Is not. And to say that about video games, let alone the entire demographic as a whole, is just ridiculous. And I think they need to be called out for it, as well as, all the other things that's been proven.
Right. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, were you that person on Twitter who posted the picture of themselves after someone accused you of being a sock puppet or whatever?
Yes, that was me.
Yeah, I remember that that got a lot of retweets, in fact. But yeah, it's a classic case of like, oh, you support Gamergate. Oh, you think this? Well, you must be a sock puppet. You must have internalized misogyny. You must be not real.
Right. And I mean, I'm sort of used to it because I guess in other places and other names, I'm part of a group of people that tends to take digs at SJWs, and whatever you don't agree with them on, it's like they attack your gender, they attack your race, they try to tell you how to think, and it just, I mean, the insults get ridiculous. Like that being called a white boy, that's minor compared to some of the things I've seen people get, like, I hope you get raped, or, other violent threats. So
yeah, it's pretty serious. You're right about that. That it's unfortunately, these people, and I think what hurts a lot of people, like gamers in general, and I mean everybody, like, is the fact that straight white males are being demonized, women are being ignored, ethnic minorities are being talked for. It's like we came to gaming to escape all that prejudice and all that crap, and then to hear the gaming media basically call us all those names that the rest of society does to us. Like, how fair is that? And then they wonder why we're so angry. And then they're like, "Oh, why are you so mad, guys?" It's like, you don't get it, do you? That a lot of these people have genuinely been oppressed. A lot of these people have genuinely had problems. And then for them to escape to the hobby they love so much and have the gaming media basically insult them, that really hurts a lot of people. Not, I mean, I haven't necessarily gone through the worst stuff myself, but talking to people, they've had some bad experiences. And gamers as a whole found solidarity in the fact that being a gamer, those things don't matter. And then along comes the SJW mentality, basically saying, yes, your race matters, yes, your gender matters, and that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that really gets me, and it's because I was born and raised in Brooklyn, but I moved to this town maybe about 4 or 5 years, and here this town is it's a pretty much in the middle of nowhere. There's like I think the population's around like 3,000, and I'm one of the few non-white people in the town. Like one of the very few. I think there's maybe 3 families that are not white in this entire town. So like being a gamer, when I was working, I went to go work for forestry. I was a wildland firefighter for Kentucky, and when a lot of like all my coworkers were white, and the only thing that kind of got me into the group, because I was kind of sitting on my own, and I would have never meshed as well as I did if I wasn't a gamer. It started on a conversation of like Skyrim or something, and then we went on to like TF2, and then I actually made like some really good friends from because I game, because I'm a gamer. Like it broke down all these walls that are in places like these where I'm just I stick out like a sore thumb. People don't, my friends, they don't look at me like, oh, he's this guy from this, like he looks different than me. Like, oh yeah, he games with us, and we're on Skype all the time. We became like the best of friends, and it's because of gaming. And I just that kind of stuff. When you're they put cultural lines, or they put this divide that didn't exist, and they're shoving it in there, and they're ruining a good thing. And I say this, they've ruined a lot of good things, but that's another good thing they want to ruin.
No, you're right.
Really,
because I mentioned this, I think, on the first Women of Gamergate stream, and I mentioned this in my previous statement just now, that they are trying to make issues out of the things that shouldn't have been. Like, they're trying to say that stuff like gender, race, and everything matters, when a lot of gamers, if not most of them, don't believe that. We all come to play games because of the experience that we get and the solidarity we get, and these people are trying to force us back into the boxes that, I don't know, a rigid society would create for us. They're trying to say that these things are what defines us, and therefore we should start catering games with that in mind. And what they don't understand is a diverse amount of people, men, women, ethnic, whatever, have enjoyed games irrespective of if the main character is a straight white male or not. And then to assume that, oh, we're gonna change it for you, it's insulting and it's unfair. That's why I agree with all you guys that I don't really think, and that's why I wanted to do this, because I feel like, just like with the Women of Gamergate, like, people need to hear, they need to understand that misrepresenting minorities does not make you right. It doesn't make you look good. And the fact that these people think what they're doing is okay, I think that's just as insulting, perhaps. That, like, if not worse. And okay, we just got a new person who joined. Although, whoa, are they screen sharing? Yeah, I think they're screen capping. It's showing the stream.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Also, whoa, but you know that on your video we can see the stream. It's like Streamception right now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, to disable that, just turn the camera off, and it should just show your icon. Okay, hello? Oh, there you go. Perfect.
So, what you talked about earlier, because I was gonna come in earlier, but I had to do something.
Oh no, don't worry about it. It's just a continuous conversation. The question to answer for this stream is, what does Gamergate mean to you? And obviously, this is for all the ethnic people who support Gamergate, basically. So, what does Gamergate mean to you personally?
Well, it's not long, but it means to me that gaming is supposed to be about fun and politics.
Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, give me a second. You sound very quiet, by the way.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, you sounded very distant.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're better now. Thank you.
Okay. Well, to me, Gamergate, to me, is both about fun and about gender politics.
Okay.
And sorry, guys, I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. We got a new person who joined, Rio Girl 18. Can you hear us? Yes. Hello there. All right. Thanks for joining. And okay, so to answer the question, of course, what does Gamergate mean to you?
Gamergate means to me just to play video games without having people trying to push their particular political ideology. You know, trying to basically dictate to us as consumers and as well as the developers that, no, you need to write this narrative because this is what we want. And you can clearly see that. You can see it from the game journalists. You can see that from how the way the media, even the mainstream media, portrays us, that this is all about control.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely agree with that. And you know, I imagine, like, have you been talking to people on Twitter about Gamergate? Have people said any, strange things to you, i.e., you're a sock puppet or you're a weaponized minority or whatever? Like, have you had any of those kind of comments?
No. For the simple reason, I tried to kind of, for lately, I've been trying to avoid that because I really don't want to get like doxxed. I'm just trying to finish out college. I'm trying to get a job within the state, so stuff like this might, kind of damage or harm that. So.
Okay, that's understandable, but obviously it's good to it's good to get more voices on this. So I'm glad you decided to join. And do you feel that, like, so obviously it's great that you support it, and do you feel, I don't know, like, do you feel that, like, okay, do you feel like everyone else that it's very insulting how people try to make your gender, your ethnicity a big deal when it comes to games? Like, do you feel like that's a problem?
Oh, completely. That to what Rebecca Watson said when Not Your Shield came about. She's like, oh, these are sock puppets. And when minorities, like women, blacks, Latinos, all said that no, we are these minorities and we support Gamergate, she called us, oh, that we're stupid. That is incredibly insulting.
People,
I was very
said it was sock puppets at first, and then women and minorities were stupid enough to join.
Yeah.
And when I read that, I was like, yes, thank you, Rebecca Watson, for telling me what I should think.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, yeah, that set me off. But they've been doing that since the beginning. Their reasoning is that, oh my God, these people cannot possibly agree with them. There must be something wrong with them. Like, no. I think that most of us know why we're here. Most of us understand this. I'd say, if not all of us, 99% of us know why we're here. And it's really, really just like she said, it's insulting as hell. It really is.
We're basically, they just using us. It's just that, oh, look, we care about the minorities, but when minorities that don't agree with them come out and say, we don't agree with you, oh no, you're the bad minorities.
You're just internalizing your misogyny.
Yeah, internalized misogyny. Or better yet, they say that you're the exception to the rule. I'm like, what rule? The rule that you made?
Yes, exactly that. Wow. Yeah, all right.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I guess I was going to say the other thing that I find incredibly insulting, I guess, in them pushing their agenda, I guess, the way they complain every time a game features a cishet white male, as in like that's the sum of someone's experience, but to, I guess, to imply the minorities are too shallow, I guess, to be able to relate to someone that doesn't look like them. I find that insulting. I find it ridiculous. And the fact that you have to take away a representation to solve a problem instead of just adding more of what you want. That's weird to me.
That was actually what I was actually going to touch on. That, you know, like, I don't know about everyone here, but I think I can speak for most gamers when I say when you're playing the character, you don't actually you are the character. So even if I'm playing like a white dude, you know, whatever, I'm the character. The character's me. When I'm playing the game, especially with first-person shooters, while I'm playing the game, I consider myself the character. You know, I put myself in his shoes. And if it's a woman, even when I'm playing a female, I never stop and think, well, oh yeah, I got to remember I'm a woman. No, I just play the game and I am the character, whether I'm male or female. So I think it's really silly.
Yeah, exactly.
It really does.
And to me, like, it's...
Hey,
oh, go ahead.
Have you seen that video by Nita's co-writer Jonathan McIntosh?
No, what about it?
14?
What about it? Come on.
Oh, it's about 40 racist male dudes that were shown on E3.
Oh, wait, what was it about?
Well, it's about, like, the face of gaming.
Oh, you mean how... What do you mean how, like, oh, the majority of the people who presented at E3 were all white males or whatever?
Yeah, in video games.
Oh,
Hello,
yeah,
there's
Christ.
Aisha Tyler. Hello.
Aisha Tyler is insane, and I don't know how that woman gets away with what she says, but she is kind of cool, I will admit.
She was pretty
No,
awesome.
but no, you're right. That's just annoying that they make a point out of that. But this is what these people do. It's always an issue, and yet people don't get that. Especially if we're talking about games, the character's gender, race, ethnicity, whatever, doesn't matter, because what matters is how well you can relate to a character based on writing and based on design. That's what people like, not whether or not they're black. Obviously, the gender, the ethnicity matters to some people on some level, especially for customization. But this thing people don't understand is it's not a one-to-one ratio. We don't need more females for female gamers. We don't need more black people for black people. We don't need more Asians for Asian people. We need customization for everybody. That's the whole point. We need customization for different people with different tastes. Guys want to play as girls. Girls want to play as guys, etc. That's the whole point. So when people say it's about representation, I find that absurd. Like when I'm playing Portal, right? I don't have it constantly on my mind that Chell's a woman, like an ethnic woman or whatever. I don't have this image in my mind that I need to cater my experience based on the fact that she's an ethnic woman. That's absurd. And the fact that people would make an issue out of that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like when I played...
I've never actually... Come to think of it, I've never actually thought about gender issues ever since until I first saw an SJW kind of post. It's ridiculous. I mean, like, my brother once showed this to me and I was like, what the fuck? How do these people even get around on Tumblr?
No, it's Tumblr, though. This Tumblr is these guys' home. Like, these people live in Tumblr.
Or SRS.
True.
I mean, like... Could you believe what they were saying about Gamergate harassment? Like, I think they were saying, can't they tell the trolls? What about yours? If it's us, then we're not trolls.
You mean when they're saying that, it's just a bunch of trolls. That's such a hilarious double standard. When we tell them that, a bunch of trolls and a bunch of internet harassers don't represent all gamers, they just say, no, there's a misogyny problem. But when people on our side are getting genuinely harassed, doxxed, etc., some people got fired, they say, oh no, it's just trolls, just deal with it. Oh, really? Then why was Anita Sarkeesian allowed to start an entire threat narrative based on one Twitter page? Like, why was that okay? Like, come on.
Because she's a woman.
Is hilarious.
She's a woman. That's the reason why. It's the complete bias double standard. And women know it.
They definitely do, and it's just... Oh, sorry, go ahead. You're going to say something?
I guess I have a hard time forming my words, but...
That's fine.
How everything isn't so insulting, I guess, the assumptions that are made about us and what we want or what we need from gaming. I I was trying to watch some of Anita's videos. I didn't really have the attention span for all that, but I got to one where she made a whole video about how porn ads and file sharing websites like to track your torrents are a real barrier to women in this.
Barrier.
And I'm like, I was 13 years old and I knew what AdBlock was. So
Yeah, I mean,
don't really. That's
the level of
insulting to
projection
me.
is insane. Like
Oh my
that these people, because I mean, I think I said this on Twitter at some point that you taking issue with something's perfectly fine, but don't say that it's because women or because minorities or whatever. It's like it's perfectly valid for someone to say that something offends them or annoys them. That's okay, but don't project and say it's all women or whatever. And then when women tell you it's not, then you say that they're not real. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So it's like they're treating us like we have some sort of mental handicap. That's kind of I don't understand.
Oh, you mean like, women, minorities can't think for themselves, that they're too stupid to make their own decisions.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm kind of insulted by that.
Yeah, and when I draw a lot of correlations between what I see now and like what, for instance, when and I hate to make it left wing, right wing, but back when people were voting for Obama, a lot of right wing conservatives were saying, oh, it's just because he's black and that's the only reason. It's because because he's a minority, everybody's just going to vote for. Like they're using the same stuff that was used on, that was used against us by the and I say it, I'm a liberal and I went to the Obama rallies and I don't care. I stick by my politics, but. It was kind of they're using the same weapons that were used against me for other reasons, like that right-wing conservatives were using against me. They're using that against me now, and it's really, really, really ticks me off.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Like,
I have to agree.
Get some time. I'm here. Like, I think I have some time to talk now.
Okay.
Okay, so about what does Gamergate mean to me? Well,
Yeah.
first off, I'm going to give you a bit of background. Alright, I'm a Filipino immigrant to Canada. And as much as I'm a gamer, I'm also a writer, and I've been a campus journalist. And I'm not just talking like newspapers, like those crack newspapers in the school, like the front page thing is that stupid faulty leak that's been going on for like 2 weeks now. No, like we made real broadsheet stuff, and believe it or not, because the people were so bad at like making editorial columns, so I basically wrote the entire editorial column. Trust me, I know what journalism is about. I've taken a class even. So what I'm saying is that I'm kind of offended that these people can call themselves journalists without even binding to this certain standard, and that they're even caught in pulling out the minority card without knowing who they're up against. I mean, I could give you a picture of me right now, and I could show you my games. I could show you Shovel Knight and Monster Hunter stuff. And what am I gonna get? Something like, you don't know what's best for you? Fuck off, man. I'm like top of my class and stuff. I think I perfectly know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean that's granted, and I still feel like that's why it comes back to that Gamers Are Dead article and the horrific vitriol that came from what they said. The whole
God, that is horrible.
misogynist, straight white male stuff. And a lot of the time down the line, obviously, while nobody condones harassment and nobody condones doxing or abuse, a lot of the time people are like, we don't get why gamers are so angry. It only happened like 5 weeks ago. Why are people acting like those articles never happened? Why do you think this happened in the first place?
It happened to Jack Thompson. I'm not sure why they're surprised.
Yeah, I think the internet has selective memory. Yeah, the whole Jack Thompson thing, where this guy came out, said some atrocious stuff, and of course he got ridiculed for it, and everybody remembers that, and everybody more or less stood together to shoot down the idea of violence. But then when it came to like social issues like gender, race, etc., then suddenly everybody hums a different tune. Because I remember when this gender politics crap kind of started about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. And all of these game journalists and all of these people I really respected, they suddenly started saying really ridiculous stuff. And I began to lose respect for so many people. I mean, I don't want to name any names, but I began to lose respect for so many people because I'm like, what? I thought you understood gamers. I thought you understood gaming. Why are you suddenly saying all this stuff? I thought you were on my side, you know?
I think that they're in this race. They're in a race to who can be the most politically correct, who can be the most progressive. And I think what they've done is they've taken it so far that they've lost sight of what moderation is. They lost sight of what the actual goals were. And they just went way off the rails. And I think, like I said, they're ruining a good thing. They're just ruining. They're one after another. They're just knocking down good things, and they can't separate their what they believe is. I think I want to say. I think some of them have good intentions. I know I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. I think some of them have good intentions. They're just trying to be more. Yeah, but they took it way too far, and they've gone so far that they lost the support of even people that were once on their side, like me, who, I was once on their side, and now I just no.
I have a little take on this entire political correctness thing. I'm kind of, as a Filipino immigrant, I'm kind of surprised how progressive Canada is, because I'm surprised. I'm really surprised. I consider myself conservative. I mean, the Philippines is a very conservative country, and while I'm not Catholic, you have to understand that our country is very conservative as a result of the Catholic Church's great influence. It's been there for 300 and 500 years, I think. What happens is that I'm just surprised. There are a lot of things that are acceptable that we say in Philippine society that are very that just wouldn't fly. And I'm also very surprised about, for example, this thing about women's equality. I can't believe that they're making these bullshit comparisons. I mean, like, you're complaining because you didn't someone spreading their legs on the bus. We have worse problems way here.
Oh, you mean
we're,
how
we're, in fact,
certain?
you're on a I'm on a jeepney, and I'm basically clutching my fucking bag to my because I know that you basically if you're on a jeepney down there, you're basically, there's always a 1 in 5 chance you're going to get mugged. Trust me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that
privilege.
one before. Like, it's unfortunately a radical feminist, not just straight up feminist, before anyone gets it twisted, just a radical feminist thing where, like, I've heard people say on Twitter, and I feel like this is what gives feminism a bad name, where people, like, certain women might complain about guys having their legs wide sitting on the train or bus or something.
Move the fuck over, bro, at Thunder.
And stuff like that is like, why? It's like, okay, if you're going to complain about it, just say that this one thing that guys do annoys me. Everyone will be like, okay, cool, but don't put feminism on it or whatever. Like, that's not helping anybody.
Well, yeah, that comes back to that. Like I said, they dilute the words. They diluted misogyny down so far that, it used to have power. When you said something was misogynist, or when you said someone was a misogynist, it was like, wow, he really hates women. Now it's like, he's a misogynist. Now does he hate women, or did he say whore or something, like in an insult?
Yeah,
and now suddenly
he suggested, I disagree with you on Twitter or something.
Yeah, and that's that. Well, even that, and the same thing with racism. They're diluting it down as well. To where something is, there's an actual bigot, someone that just hates minorities, hates they just absolutely can't stand them, or and it's a deep-seated hate, and then they're just like, oh well, this guy, I don't know, he talked in an accent, geez, he made fun of an accent or something. Like, they've diluted it so bad that you just can't they don't hold the same power anymore, and it's ruining, like I said, it's ruining what real social justice activists do. It's good. Yeah, it's fun. It's things like that. Like some guy in that Dead Rising 3 review. I don't know if any of you read it, but the guy went on about how it was misogynist and racist, and I mean,
Seriously?
it was.
How is Dead Rising 3 misogynist?
So what about it? So what examples did he make? Like, don't tell me. Is it because someone shoots a zombie girl?
On no, that one part, I don't know if anybody played it, where that lady, where those thugs come out and they try to take that lady in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, typical.
Okay. Right, and then what? If I don't want to be slight spoiler here. Cover your ears for a half a second. At the end of that fight. At the end of that little fight, she beats the hell out of him and comes out of the room. So nothing actually happens. It shows that she's a strong woman and she kicked their ass. But it really tears me up. Like, he's like, oh, this is just misogynist, and there's all these misogynist things and all these racist things because there's an Asian guy who's actually a monk, and he speaks in an Asian accent, and he has like a long what is it? A scythe or something, and he's like, oh, that's just so racist and stereotypes, and like, dude, calm the hell down, man. It's like,
yeah,
you pick one little piece of the game.
In fact, it's funny you mention that, but this reminds me so much of and this is, I've never liked Polygon, but this reminds me of the Polygon review. I think it was Polygon, the Polygon review of the new Killer Instinct. When that review is so annoying to read. It almost never talks about gameplay. It's just talking about how every character is a harmful stereotype, especially Sadira, because blah blah blah, ethnic women, and it's so annoying to read that. I'm like, you're basically deducting points off of this game because it hurts your fragile sensibilities about character stereotyping. It's like the same people who get mad that Street Fighter characters are like stereotypical or whatever. So
if I could just butt in just for a second, it's like Grand Theft Auto 5 when they took off. I forgot which journalist did, but they took off a point for Grand Theft Auto 5 for being supposedly
I remember that.
Because they portrayed women in a negative way. To me personally, I see Grand Theft Auto as a social commentary, especially when it comes down to other characters. We're seeing how the social commentaries, they're coming out and they're saying, you're either this or this, but in reality, we all know that the world is not just black and white. We have a huge, specter of gray, and it could range from that. And to me, the whole taking off the point, well, that shouldn't have been there. I mean, me personally, the way I judge a game is by its story, its gameplay, and how much fun did I have? In its pure essence, just that. But just because, just taking off one point because it's supposedly misogynist. I mean, that's BS, to be honest. And
no, but it's not even just that. It's just the fact that to criticize GTA 5, for showing women in a negative light. Just women, though? I mean, the three main characters are all shown to be horrible people, and they're all guys. In fact, it has a very high contempt for a lot of kind of like the maleness of society, of these guys who are chasing money. They're just violent. They're just aggravating. They're unthinking, unfeeling. It makes fun of teenagers. It also has a bit of a very satirical view of like black people in the hood and stuff like that. And obviously every so often it makes fun of white women and stuff like that. And to me, GTA 5 is taking aims at everybody. So to say that the misogyny is a problem, I'm like, GTA 5 is a game about, as you said, satire. It's taking issues and basically exaggerating them. And to only pick out the women part and say this is a problem, then that says more about you than the game itself.
But that is. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say one thing about, I guess, this obsessive harping on stereotypes. What it is, it's another extreme. It's like, no, black people are not always like this, but it's also not true to say that they're never like this.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, how fragile do you think I am that the idea of someone that looks like me being shown in a negative way, not the whole race, like this select character or whatever. I'm not that fragile. That's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
With the cultural appropriation, the thing is, half the time they, using that as an example of racism, like I guess for me, especially for black people, they want to say that like hood talk, a white person using hood talk, I guess, is racist. Which is like, so are you saying that this is a type of thing that belongs to black people? This is what black people talk like? Because to me, that's sort of what you're implying. Because there are plenty of black people, I guess, what they're calling black culture. We don't want to be associated with that, but they're forcing it on us. They're saying that's your culture. They're defining what is our culture, which is, I find that kind of racist myself.
And hello, I'm back. Okay, thank you for that. Oh, because I did hear it. Okay, we have someone who just joined. Can you hear us?
Yo,
Yes, hello.
can you
Thanks for
hear us?
joining. And yeah, we can hear you. And thanks for joining. So basically, what is what to answer the question, what does Gamergate mean to you?
So we're all in this for journalistic integrity and objective reporting, yeah, in video games.
Yes.
We don't really care about, say, like all of you guys said. We just want to play games. We don't care if the game is catered to a minority, to a race, men, women. All that matters is that the journalists reported correctly, and they don't insert their agendas into their reporting. They don't say, like all of you guys said. They don't say that because there's prostitution in GTA, or say sleeping dogs and other games like that this game is horrible to women, and we just want you to report the game on taking every single side and as objectively as possible. Now, it's never happening, yeah? But there's one thing that I've noticed about this entire Gamergate, pro-Gamergate and anti-Gamergate, that pro-Gamergate wants journalistic integrity, while anti-Gamergate wants inclusivity, no more sexual harassment, representation of everybody, and our goals aren't mutually exclusive. We can have both. So I really don't understand why we're fighting. Is it some kind of misinformation or something like that? And if it is, it's working really well.
Well, I think that's part of the issue. I think that there's a lot of misinformation being spread. I mean, they do control the narrative as far as the mainstream is concerned. The first things that people are seeing are what they wrote. And when I say they, I mean the people that are basically against us, the game press. They put a negative spin on it, and the people that are new to it, they don't quite understand. They just like, okay, well, if all these magazines or all these game press say that it's true, then that must be what the case is, and they just jump on the bandwagon. It's blind followings, and I think blind followings are what really ruins a lot of causes, including and it's. I mean, at this point, it's ruining games. It's the blind following, people thinking that a few guys in Seattle or wherever these guys are at. What is it, San Francisco? Yeah, like a few guys in San Francisco speak for the audience as a whole, and it's really it's infuriating. It really is.
And one more thing I've always noticed with all these journalists, they really like to pick on games from Japan. Now, I live here. I live in Japan, yeah? And I'm always wondering, because whenever I talk to people here, do they worry that whenever they're playing Halo, their character isn't, Japanese or stuff like that? No, they don't. Nobody cares. And if somebody's worried that, say, a woman say she thinks that there aren't enough games coming out, they don't complain about it. There's no Sarkeesian thing going on, and instead what they do is they make a game. That's why we've got all the otome games and games made for women by women. And I don't understand why SJWs and all these anti-Gamergate people don't just do that instead of being so negative about everything.
See, I'm glad you mentioned otome games, because the funny thing is that I said at some point on Twitter that if people want games to specifically cater to a gender, in particular, then you should be making those games, because not every game can appeal to every gender, every ethnicity, every whatever at the same time. Games are supposed to be about their story and content. But if people want more games to specifically cater to women, quote unquote, then you could start making those type of games. Because in Japan, you have like otome games, which are like visual novels, aimed directly at women. Just like how you in the West, you have like female-centered TV shows and movies, etc. If people want those kind of games, then they can make them. But for the most part, games that aren't like that usually they're not really aimed at anybody. Okay, yeah, you could say they're aimed at guys or straight white guys or whatever, but for the most part, these are games that are free from any kind of gendered bias. They're just kind of made to be interesting and pull in a big group of people, especially the AAA games. Like, people think that AAA games are aimed mainly at guys, but they don't get that AAA games are aimed at the lowest common denominator. They're trying to get as much money as possible, so they make these games as general as possible so anyone can like them. That's why the main characters aren't, not all the time, obviously, but that's why the main characters aren't like super deep. That's why there's no nuance or bias. That's why there's no politics. It's so anyone can play it and enjoy it. So the fact that people want, the gender to be such an issue, well, if that's really, their thing, they can make their own games that appeal to, guys specifically, appeal to girls specifically, or whatever. So I agree. I thank you for bringing that up. It's a good point.
I guess in summary, you could say that there's a market for everything. I mean, personally, or I wouldn't say personally, but I have friends that are bronies, and honestly, the dudes are like 19, 20-year-olds, and they're watching, shows specifically aimed at somebody who's, somebody of the opposite gender of a minor age, and that's actually I agree with you. Why aren't these feminists actually trying to do something? Why, we live in a free market world. Why do they not try to make a company or video games based on gender politics, or I'm sorry, not gender politics, but I should say specifically aimed towards one gender? I could understand it if they say it's too hard or it's hard to make a AAA game. Yes, I could understand. In fact, right now I'm actually studying video game development, and to me, it's just like, it's pretty asinine to say, it's hard to make one. It's hard, yes, but you could do it. You just have to put your mind to it.
But I think the main problem with them is I remember listening to, I think, Anita Sarkeesian, and there was an article that linked to a woman, it was like a female development team, and these women, they make games by and for women. Unfortunately, I never heard of them. And they think like Gone Home, Dear Esther, and what was the one that Zoe Quinn made, Depression Quest. I mean, all these games were made not so much like for women, but like for social justice people, but they're not very good. And I think that's one of the reasons why the social justice warrior people, they want to make everything in all of the game industry what they want. Make it, put that in there because they can't do it themselves. They obviously can't.
Yeah, and the hilarious thing is that these people don't seem to get is they're trying to ask for more inclusivity, more better written characters and deeper, interesting stories involving women and minorities. But by advocating for things to be more gendered, you're creating more stereotypes. I mentioned this in one of the Women of Gamergate streams, that the thing is, when you ask for something like a female perspective, you run the risk of creating stereotypes. If you say we want women to develop games with a female perspective for female gamers, doesn't that mean you're just going to create stereotypical characters? Because I feel like that idea of female perspective is very problematic, because that's like saying every game has a male perspective. But what does that even mean?
Oh, go ahead.
Thanks. Take Arcade Gannon from Fallout New Vegas. He's gay. Nobody really knows. Nobody really cares, and he doesn't make that his only defining character trait. And yet you have the stuff that are pandering to social justice. Like, what's his name? You guys see in Dragon Age Inquisition, where that one new character, Dorian, is revealed to be the first fully gay playable character, and all of that stuff. And it's kind of tokenism, and it feels far more insulting to any minority, instead of just having an interesting character and then putting, okay, he's black, he's a person of color. God, that term is so racist. Or something like that. Make him interesting.
like make
Yeah.
what you're like make try not to make it into a big deal. I could understand that. In fact,
Yeah.
personally, me, I would like to see more. I should say more positive Hispanic characters in video games. But you know what? I'm not gonna go knocking down the door of some company and say, "Hey, I want you to do this." Instead, what I would do is put my boots on and say, "Okay, I'm gonna make this video game. It's gonna have a Hispanic character. I'm not gonna make it into a big deal. It's just part of who he is." And in fact, that's what I think. What Anita Sarkeesian should do, rather than just complain on the internet saying there's SJW, or I'm sorry, there's no women in video games, and etc. To me, it's just like if you want to do something, I'm sorry, if you want to see something, then do it yourself. That's the approach I always take.
All
About
right.
that,
Okay, go ahead.
I'm seeing a lot of those game developers' perspectives who say that the Gamergate seems to be scaring away cultural critics because we're harassing them. They're arguing that people like Anita Sarkeesian are like policing whether we're actually that we're doing bad stuff, as opposed to what personally see as cherry picking. No, what do you think about that? Do you think that the game developers have some sort of validity to their claim that Sarkeesian, for example, is and the reviewers like those at Polygon can be very effective cultural police, or do you think this is just really pushing it?
My
Uh,
thing,
Go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
the thing,
Karen.
gamers and gamer culture as a whole have never scared me away. Like, I've actually felt very included on the whole. No one makes a big deal about my gender or my race because it's not important. We're just talking about games. And what I really appreciated about, I guess, the video gamers is that, you know, everywhere else, social justice warriors have nitpicked everything into oblivion to where it's not even
They
fun
nitpick my
anymore to
fucking
talk
cap.
about it. And
They,
this was like the last place I had where I didn't have to hear that. And now they're coming and messing this up too. They're the ones that are gonna run me away.
Yeah, I
I
definitely
agree.
I can see that.
they
So
probably
okay.
I mean,
nitpick my fucking cap.
Yeah, does
Cultural
anyone have anything
appropriation.
else to add? Because I need to rotate callers in a second.
well, one thing before I go, I mean, going back to what, I'm sorry, what's your name, bro? The one with the fish thing?
Oh, Lutfi.
Luffy. Like what
Yeah.
Luffy said was that about these game journalists being criticized. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna voice something on the internet, you have to prepare to take some backlash. Every time I post something up on Twitter or on Facebook, I know I'm gonna receive some backlash of some sort. Either whether it's from my friends, family, or people that I've never even heard of. I'm prepared to have some backlash myself. It's like right now. In fact, what I'm worried is that I'm going to get backlash for speaking up. But you know what? That's the price that I have to pay for voicing my opinion. And in fact, if they want to criticize me all they want, that's up to them. And it's going to be nobody's going to try to silence me. And if I have to silence myself, then so be it. But I'm not going to silence myself just because I offended somebody or I said something that was contradicting their ideas.
Yeah, and then like in the case of Anita Sarkeesian, where she likes to try to frame it as misogyny, but if I were going to do something like that, like tropes versus men in video games, and I'd be called out and get death threats for it, would I frame it as misandry? Fuck no.
I have to agree too. I mean, it's obvious that people are always trying
People
to.
just rail on her. People just use the fact that she's a woman to rail on her particularly, but it's not any different from any other kind of harassment. I mean, I'd probably get railed out on. Oh, you Rook Asian, all Rook same, all have tiny dick.
And yeah, I mean it's the same with Mexicans. To be honest, dude, I'm not personally offended by these Mexican stereotypes such as Speedy Gonzalez. To me, it's just like
Arriba,
whatever.
arriba.
It's like whatever the hell the media wants to portray me as. That's fine. It's up to them. I'm personally not offended because I have bigger problems on my plate. But one thing that I am, or I should say, I am kind of offended is when people start trying to push an agenda into video games by saying, try to accept this. Or I should say, people outside the company, not rather inside the company. Inside the company, I don't care. They could portray, a misogynist society. That's fine. They want to portray a misandrist society. That's fine. But that's up to them. And when somebody comes from a third party and tries to say, "Hey, you know what? I am seeing this game. I'm not liking how women are portrayed. I'm sorry, but video games are considered art, but even by the what's it called? By the Supreme Court of the United States, it was declared as a art form. So if some so if some company wants to try to enforce, or I'm sorry, if some person tries to say this offends me, I'm sorry, but it's protected by the First Amendment. Even if it offends me, I'm still going to stand by it and say, you know what, this is an art, and this is something that if it truly offended me, that's fine. And going back to the whole internet comments and trolling thing, to me, that's just the way it is. Even if I have to voice my opinion very, very loudly, that's fine. If I get criticized for it, that's fine. If I get called out for it, that's fine. If I get called a wetback, that's fine. I understand that there's a lot of racist people on the internet, but the thing is, I'm not gonna take this personally and just gonna be, silence myself, or I should say, I'm not gonna let them silence me. The only one that's gonna put the only person that's going to silence myself is myself. So I'm not going to worry about, somebody trying to silence me. And this is what Anita Sarkeesian should have done in the first place. Instead of actually trying to disable comments and disable likes on YouTube, she should have enabled it instead. And she's actually receiving backlash for it. And at the same time, if she doesn't want to receive backlash, then don't fucking speak. It's the way of the internet. You have to accept criticism whether you speak or not. I mean, obviously, guys, I don't know about any of y'all, but I still haven't received criticism from Not Your Shield and Gamergate. But I bet there are a few people who received criticism for it, and you know what? That's up to them. I'm not gonna be there holding their hand and saying, you know what? These people are mean people. These SJWs are mean people. Me personally, I don't care what they call me. I just want to voice my opinion, and this is why Gamergate is actually, or Gamergate matters to me the most. It's forcing an opinion on, or I'm sorry, forcing an idea upon me, which I don't accept willingly.
Agreed.
All right. That was really good.
Last question before we all leave. One last question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, what's your first video game and what's your favorite video game?
Oh, that's gonna take a while, dude. Hold on, sorry.
No story, just the names.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
Ace Combat Zero.
Jurassic Park for the NES. Sorry, SNES.
Command and Conquer Generals.
The first game I ever played was Pokemon Yellow.
Oh, sweet.
The first game I ever played was Super Mario Brothers. Wow, I feel old. Well,
it was the first game I played was Super Mario Brothers as well. Don't worry.
Oh,
it was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt.
The first game I've ever played was The Lion King for the Sega Genesis, really? And I'm from it was a hand-me-down from my brother. Wow. And my favorite video game of all time would have to be Banjo-Kazooie. I love the music, I love the characters, I loved everything about it.
Except for Nuts and Bolts.
Oh yeah, obviously that one.
All right, has everyone had a chance to say what their game is?
Yeah.
All right,
first game was Crash.
All right. So yeah, as I said, I'll have to rotate callers now. So thank you all for coming in.
Good time.
All right. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's all good. Thank you for contributing to the cause. I'm trying to get some new people in here, so I'm messaging them right now.
All right, can I say one thing before I go?
Yeah, of course. That's fine. Go ahead.
And I know there might be some people maybe on the fence or maybe some people on the other side. I just want to let you guys know that I know some of you are trying to do a good thing. And I said it before. I know some of you guys are trying. But you've pushed it too far. You need to really step back and let this one go. Like, you really do. And you're ruining things that were once considered, again, they were like once considered noble and just cause, feminism and social justice. These weren't bad things before. They were things that are still in some aspects good, but the type that you're pushing is not the type that we need. You're basically making people, you're turning people against it. You're turning people against us, because I'll say, I'll say that I'm still part of that camp, but not this radical form that's just way out there. This social justice warriors and third wave feminism, this whatever, or radical feminism, or whatever you want to call it. You're turning people against us. You're ruining what the core issues were. You're ruining those causes, and I really wish, if you're on the fence or you're on that side, really take a step back and look at what you're doing. Look at who you're turning against you. Look at all these people that are coming out against you now, and realize that not everyone knows that there's a difference between radical and moderate, and know that you're really ruining this stuff, and you really just need to step back and stop. Stop now. Anyway,
right.
Thank you.
That's fair enough. Yeah, thanks for that contribution.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, so our new caller, Julio Fernandez. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, you did. You can call me Verilo if you prefer, or Julio, whatever you guys want to call me. I'm fine with that.
Julio works for me. All right, so thanks for joining. And obviously, the question is, what does Gamergate mean to you?
Well, thanks for having me. And well, just wanted to say this real quickly. You're doing great work. Thanks for doing it. I think that a lot of people appreciate it, and I appreciate it. So thanks for doing it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, what does Gamergate mean to me? I think that's. It sounds like a simple question, but to me it's a little longer. So I'm going to give some background before I go into it real quick.
That's fine.
I was born in the States, but my family is Dominican, so I'm Latin. And I lived a big portion of my life in the Dominican Republic, and I'm doing a master's now in Spain. So, Gamergate for me, it's a springboard in a certain way. I'm trying to get my words fail me. It's a springboard in the sense that I think it actually it's a kind of a melting pot of issues that we're kind of all waking up and realizing are going on. I think that for me, what I want it to be is that I want us to not only check out games, corruption in games media, which is what's the center of it, but it's also branching out to other things that are pretty messed up in our industry. Back in January, I started a Twitch channel, and I started a show about things that were wrong in our industry, like hype, pre-order, and all those sorts of things. And what I hope that Gamergate does, and what it is to me, and what I want it to be, is it has to be a kind of like how do I say this? Well, a catharsis, a catalysis, I don't know, to kind of demonstrate all of the messed up things that certain people don't want us to talk about. For what I've seen, especially if you look into like a very taboo subject like piracy in video games, if you dig into other issues, there are a lot of things that certain people, don't want us kind of looking into, don't want us talking about. And I think this is this is just the first one to blow up. I think that it's not going to be something that's going to end here. It's going to really go on and on and on. Well, that's what it is to me in my words.
Okay, that's good. That makes a lot of sense. So thanks for that. And we just got a new person who joined, Richard. So hello, can you hear us, Richard? Hello? Okay, I'm not sure if we can hear you. Yeah, it says your mic's unmuted, but I don't think we can hear you.
I think he's really, really low in volume.
What, can you hear him? Because I don't think I can hear him. Oh, I think that's it. I heard you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Yeah, I had a problem. I had to fix the settings up.
That's fine. So yeah, thank you for joining. And yeah, the question just like I asked him is, what does Gamergate mean to you?
Well, I think it's a good movement for people who share the same hobby, who don't want their hobby to be destroyed. And I think it's great that so many diverse people are speaking up, because the thing about these news journals and these articles that are brought up is that they use the isms that these minorities feel, and they try to use that to push their agenda. Because at first, it started first with these people saying, oh wait, I remember when I was in Zambia, I used to hear gamers are racist when the Call of Duty thing was coming up. And that didn't fly by, so they went to the feminist sexism thing, and they realized there's so many diverse people in the Gamergate, and they're trying to push that feminism thing going on, but it's not working for them. So I think Gamergate is doing great to address these issues and bringing up transparency and just everything that should happen when it comes to journalism in the industry.
Okay. That's interesting. You said this thing about like gamers being racist or whatever. I mean, admittedly, that hasn't. I've heard that before. It's not said anywhere near as much as gamers are sexist, but I wouldn't be surprised if people say that. Either was it due to games or was it due to something else?
Well, there was this wave that came up. There was this inherent idea that when you play Call of Duty or FPS online, you're going to have so many insults hurled at you. So the news articles back in my country went with that, and they said, well, gamers on the internet are inherently racist, and that just doesn't fly with me. For me to categorize the whole culture based on what 2 or 3 people have done on the internet just didn't work out. So we had so many of these papers saying that gamers are racist, gamers have no respect towards other races and stuff like that, but it died down after a while when they realized that there were so many diverse people playing these video games.
Fair enough. That's interesting. Whoa. Okay, so we had someone joined a few seconds ago, Daniel Lawson. Hello there.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, so...
Oh, wait, can you mention who you are on Twitter, by the way?
Okay, so...
Which invite this was.
I'm at Quell, Cueil.
Okay.
And do you want me to talk about what Gamergate means to me?
No, of course. No, I'm just wondering, when did I invite you? I'm so confused.
Oh, someone said to call in. I messaged someone on Twitter and they said call in.
Okay.
Okay, I can leave if I'm uninvited.
Oh no, it's not that. It's just
Okay.
I'm wondering, since I hadn't actually messaged you and I suddenly saw someone join who I didn't know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doing that. Someone said to call in.
No, so someone sent you the link to the Hangout?
I saw it. Let's see. Someone told me Groom's Boon told me I can call in. So I don't know if I came in on when I wasn't welcome. I mean, I can leave.
No, you don't. You don't have to. I mean, do you know what the purpose of this stream is, though? I think that's the most important question.
This is about Gamergate, right?
It is. Although, I mean, I'm not trying to sound funny, but this is supposed to be about ethnic people. I'm just wondering.
Okay. I mean, if I'm not welcome, I can leave. I don't want to break up conversation.
I mean, look, to give you a fair chance, you can still say why you support it. As I said, I don't want a situation where people are just randomly joining without me telling them. But you can stay for now, and you can explain why you support Gamergate. I'm not going to just kick you out. I'm not that kind of person.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I thought maybe you controlled who came into the room or not.
No, I did, but I send them links directly. But it seems that my links are flying around, so hey.
That's my apology. I'm very sorry about that. So maybe other people watching this will know not to just jump into here of their own accord. I'm really sorry about that, but.
Don't worry about it. Anyway, so as I said, don't worry. Go ahead. You can explain, because obviously, to be fair, Gamergate is about everyone. And what ethnicity are you, by the way?
I'm actually the privileged. All the rights belong to me because I'm white and male, and I just have to apply once and I get a job. Despite 2 months without a job, so that's a whole different issue. Because Gamergate to me. Is purely about ethics and journalism. All this side stuff, the social justice warrior, social justice doesn't exist. There's only justice or injustice. That's just my opinion. I think it's a fairly good opinion. But I believe everything boils down to when I go to a site that I think I trust, and then I find out that this site and other sites are colluding and trying to push their agenda. I stopped going to Polygon a long time ago because they push their agenda. And all I want to see is that sites, first, if you donate to Patreon, you let me know that you donate to Patreon, because then if you're talking about this, it's like a tech site. If a tech site owns stock, the guy writing about it, he'll let you know that he owns stock in Microsoft if he's writing a Microsoft article, or a Google article if he owns stock in Google. That's all I want. I don't care if they donate to Patreon. I don't think it's a great idea to donate to Patreon, but at least let me know so that I can read your article knowing that, hey, this guy donates to this person's Patreon. I'm going to read the article knowing that, and maybe if I see some negative stuff or they're critical, I might take that critical idea and say, this person is not putting a spin on it. But if I see a whole bunch of positive things, then then it snaps in my head, like maybe he's got a little bit of bias going here, and I need to look deeper into the situation, this game, or maybe they're doing an opinion piece on something. Maybe I don't want to take full what they say as the truth 100%.
Okay.
That makes some pretty good sense, actually. I'm more on the side of I would prefer them not to write the article if they're donating money, but if they're able to say something negative about a game or whatever, despite the fact that they're donating, that really that's a really great show of integrity in my point of view. But at the same time, I think that would be the minority of people who would actually do that, especially in the situation that we've kind of found ourselves now. Again, it's not the act of just donating money to somebody. It's what it entrails. If you're donating money to somebody, either they're your friend or you want them to succeed. So automatically, you really have a really big bridge to kind of get to the other side when writing an article about them. But once again, yeah, that does make sense what you just said there.
It definitely did. And I should make a disclaimer because, let's get the elephant out of the room here, okay? Obviously, and I hate to put you on the spot, but there's a reason for this. Obviously, this stream is for ethnic people to discuss their relation to Gamergate. And the thing is, people have messaged me on Twitter and they're wondering if, not jokingly, admittedly, but they're wondering if I'm going to do a straight white guy stream. And I should mention that, especially with the whole Not Your Shield hashtag, at no point am I or anyone else saying that straight white people aren't allowed to use the tag or that it's not for them or whatever. I saw some arguments on the Not Your Shield video about that, which really bothered me. Look, the point is that the tag is mainly for women and minorities to use because we're not supposed to be the shield of the SJW mentality. However, that doesn't mean that white people aren't allowed to use it, and it doesn't mean that they aren't allowed to be a part of the conversation. But at the same time, the reason why I'm not going to do a quote-unquote straight white male guy stream is only because the whole point of this was to give a voice to the people who are being misrepresented in this case. Of course I advocate for everybody, straight white guys included, to have a voice in this. And of course I advocate for togetherness. I'm not trying to segregate. I'm not making these streams to just say only these people are allowed to have a voice. So I know there's some confusion regarding how I'm handling things, but trust me, it's not meant to be that strict. So if anybody's been confused about that, I apologize. But that's the bottom line.
I've seen those. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just ethnicity. I'm 40% Native American, so if that matters.
Well,
anybody. If that matters to anybody, I consider myself white. I know a lot of people who consider themselves Latino who are clearly African American mostly in origin, but they're Latinos. I consider my white despite having more Native American blood in me than I have individual European blood in me. So, but the way I feel about it is that I think I think that we only have one race, And I think once we can wrap our heads around the idea that there are no black people, pigmentation in your skin doesn't separate who you are from me. Where you lived and where your origins may separate, like your bone type, maybe the muscle density that you have in your body, but we all bleed red. Our skin is all basically formed exactly the same. Our hair are formed the same stuff. Our genetics are almost exactly the same. We're humans. There is no race. If you're racist, you should be racist against humans as a whole, because there's only one race in this world, Homo sapiens. And I mean, some people get upset over that, but that's just me.
No, that's fair. That's a very fair statement to make, and you're right that the only people who make racism an issue are the people who bring it up, because a lot of people, racial minorities or whatever, they don't consider 24/7 the fact that they are, a different race. But when people bring it up and make it an issue, that's what the problem is. And in fact, that's what bothers people with this whole Gamergate thing, where it's somebody made it about straight white males, and they said that games don't represent women and minorities enough. And it's like, well, you just made this a problem. Nobody had a problem with this until you said it.
This is why I have a problem with those articles that are written in that way. It's like, playing Duck Hunt made me a racist or something like that.
Right, a Kotaku article.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Like, I didn't even have that thought in my mind before you put it, and even though when I read your article, it's pretty stupid. Like, don't try to tell me what I feel through your article. Like, I don't want to read a game journalist publication and become angry because of who I am. Like, that's what I feel like these people are doing. It's like they just want to fuel the fire, and most of the analysis are way off. Like there was that funny one that how playing Tropical made me a boy.
Oh God, that stupid article made me so mad. That stupid article made me so mad, dude.
I was on the bus and I was reading that and I was like, you have to be fucking kidding me, right?
I couldn't finish it, to be honest. Does it end well? Because I couldn't finish it.
It doesn't. I don't.
I just read the first line and I was like, wow. Like, yeah.
It was so ridiculous.
They bring this stuff up. Like, I remember I was on the BioWare forums once. I know, kill me. And and I won't mention his name, but one of the developers came to me and he was asking me if I feel like just because Jacob's dad left him and because he's a person knows of African American descent, he's asking me if that was racist. And I was like, I never thought about it in that certain type of way until you're trying to fuel it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It's true, and it's funny that you mentioned a character like Jacob. Like, a character like Jacob from Mass Effect is a character who their race doesn't matter. In fact, just like with female characters, a lot of the time, race, gender, whatever doesn't matter. And like, admittedly, there are a lot of black stereotypes in games, but not all the time. And when they're there, they don't offend me, and they don't offend the majority of black guys in general. And in fact, if you want to talk about if you want to talk about non-typical, black characters, those exist too. For example, I remember at 9090 on Twitter, he mentioned like one of the least typical black guys was Briggs from Splinter Cell Blacklist. Like, he's a college graduate, he's a trained operative, he's on par with Sam Fisher, and he's not like this belligerent, swearing, like hood black guy. He's actually a smart guy who just happens to be black, and that's cool. And also, I'm going to point this out for future viewers. The thumbnail I'm going to use for this podcast, I guess, this call, is going to be of the character Prophet from Crisis. And if people see that, they'll probably be wondering. Here's what you don't know: the character Prophet from Crisis, even though you only see his face every so often, you see his face at the end of Crisis 3. Yeah, hello. And you only see his face at the end of Crisis 3. The character Prophet is a black guy. Like, and he's
Hold on,
actually
man,
one
I
of the
cannot hear anyone.
Oh, hello? You said you can't hear anyone? Hello there? Navi, is it? Okay, I guess we'll get back to him in a second. But yeah, as I was trying to say that, the character Prophet from Crisis is a black guy, and while that doesn't influence anything of his character whatsoever, that's just another case where the character was made a certain way. just because that's what the designers felt like. It wasn't meant to be some kind of statement. It's not trying to show black power or something.
Definitely, like I have a problem with games that advertise a character based on their physical or social traits rather than who the character actually is. I mean, Dragon Age Inquisition has got Dorian, and when you read an article about
1 second.
Dorian,
I think my speaker is not working. 1 second. I'll try to fix it.
when you read an article about Dorian, the first thing you see is, oh, he's fully gay, and to me, it's like I don't want them to use that as a selling point. I want to know about the character first. Then maybe you can, as a side note, you tell me, oh, he's gay. I have no problem with gay people in games, but using that as a selling point instead of the actual how interesting the character is kind of bothered me a bit. Even the term
that right there is the actual reason why they're telling you. You see, the reason why they're putting all this stuff in, oh, he's a black guy, oh, he's a gay guy, oh, whatever, is because we live in a world where political correctness is an infection that's infected everything. So if it kind of forces you to say, I have no problem with gay people, that's fine, it's cool that he's a gay character. Just because of that reaction and so many people getting upset and so many people saying stuff like, and I'm not saying that your reaction was incorrect, by the way, but it's that reaction where everybody just knee jerks and goes, oh, wait a minute. That right there, it's a publicity stunt. It's what they're doing, and it's very much similar to what's happening in Gamergate. You see, the way I see it right now, when it comes to the gender part of it, there's 3 sides, not 2, like a lot of people think. There's the extreme feminists, which I'll get to them in a moment. There's rational people, and then there's actual women who say, well, yeah, sexism is an issue in gaming, and you can make a case that there is certain unnecessary sexism in certain things, like, when a game puts a lot of boobies in it just to appeal to a certain demographic. I mean, I understand it's art, I agree with it. I'm getting into game dev myself, and I've defended it being art for the better part of the last decade, but I don't agree when a game does something just to pander to people. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing that they tell you that there's a gay character as to when they make Bayonetta's boobs bounce so incredibly nicely for no reason. So
no, I mean, I see what you're saying. It's funny you mentioned the thing about gay characters because while I'm not like an authority on it, I remember there was this article from I think the guy who helped develop Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon about talking about when we'll see a gay protagonist, and it was an interesting conversation enough, but the point to me was like he kind of made it sound like the world isn't ready for a gay protagonist. I'm like, well, I don't think it's not that they're ready. Admittedly, there's a lot of people who might feel uncomfortable with it, but just don't make it a big deal. I don't think anyone's going to care because we don't need to have like this shoehorned relationship because oh, he's gay or whatever. We don't need to make it an issue. You can just make a character, say he's gay, and maybe mention it once or twice in the whole game, and then move on. A lot of the time, character sexualities are never mentioned, like at all,
because it's not relevant. I'm sorry.
It brings in a different point. It brings in an interesting point of how people say lack of inclusivity in the game means discrimination. Like if you don't include enough black people, you're like, all right, the gaming industry is racist, and it's like, it just doesn't really make sense to me.
You see, but to get back to my to the point I was making, you see, there are certain things not only in gaming but in society that we can fix, and of course, the extremists, they're trying to abort this as kind of a separate issue. The reality is, yes, there are certain things that are unnecessarily sexist, maybe unnecessarily racist in games. I haven't talked to anybody in Gamergate, at least me personally, maybe some of you guys disagree, that says that that's not true. I mean, yeah, there are certain things that aren't, they're not there to enforce the story, they're not there to enforce the art. There's no reason Zero Suit Samus needs to have high heels, for example. But
there's jet boots, though, to be fair. But I know what you're saying.
May I interject here real quick? I was talking to someone about this recently, and actually, they were saying like it's not hard to find sexism in games, but I said, well, sexism is more of in their definition, it's more of a personal thing, where like you could say that this in particular is sexist. Like they brought up Dishonored, where there's 67 men and 27 women, I believe, and they said you could spy on a woman in a bath, and that's sexist. And I said, well, to me, that's not sexist. So if something's not sexist to someone else, then you can't automatically say that you're condoning sexism because that's what people are trying to say.
Well, okay, interesting. And Okay, yeah, continue your point then.
Oh yeah, of course, I do agree with that. I mean, sexism in certain points are points of view, but at the same time, there are certain instances, and it happens in the same situation with racism. There's certain instances where it doesn't add anything either to the experience, to the story, or to the whole product. It's just there to pander.
Yeah, it's like a stereotype, basically.
Yeah, it's like there to
lazy
pander to
stereotype.
14-year-olds. And the problem with this entire conversation, and let me just get this one out, is that the extremist group that we're calling extreme feminists, which are really just there to make money. I mean, come on, everybody's like trying to look at Sarkeesian like she's like this extreme feminist. She's actually a really smart person. She's saying things specifically to piss you off,
Yeah,
to get you to talk about her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point. What we need to do is to stop watching her and talking about her in general. And Zoe Quinn is no different. I mean, it's the same. I had hope for her, to be 100% honest. I was in the naive group who had hope that maybe she wasn't going to be the next Sarkeesian, but, you know, that ship has sailed, unfortunately. But the whole point here is that because these people exist, you have these three groups colliding. You have people say, well, wait a minute, there is sexism in video games. Like, I don't like that, and I think my voice should be heard. Like, you know, with the examples we've given, but they're getting muffled and they're getting excluded because the representation they have in this conversation are these crazy extremists, which aren't really that crazy. They're just trying to make money and make a name for themselves. So I do feel that's kind of a point that we've kind of missed a little bit. We've kind of like if a woman comes up, these extremists have hijacked it to the point that any woman who comes up and says, well, I think that this is kind of sexist, immediately you get a knee-jerk reaction like, oh, wait a minute, are you an SJW? You know, it's. I do believe it's something that these people have infected to the point that they're hurting.
I think you're right. There is
conversation itself,
reactions to stuff, and this is the problem that.
and rightfully
happens.
so because of what's been going on.
Yeah, like it happens a lot because this is the issue, and I think I said this on Twitter like today that nobody wants to get uncomfortable when somebody brings up their gender or whatever. Like nobody wants to be uncomfortable just because a female gamer is like present. People who make things into issues are creating problems for everyone because, you know, feminism, gender politics or whatever, stuff like this can be discussed civilly. They can be discussed in a civil manner, but when people make hysteria out of everything, they make threat narratives, they make, you know, they make harassment, blah blah blah. Like they're creating a situation where someone so much as mentions gender, and everyone just kind of groans and says, "Oh, let's not talk about it," because these are serious issues that can be discussed and can be dealt with. But by creating hysteria, by creating hate, nobody wants to talk about it.
Well,
Actually, I think I'm gonna play the. I'm not gonna sort of play the devil's advocate here, but there's a lot of people who don't really want to be involved in the gender discussion if they want to play games. But I've seen a lot of people who will just crucify someone who does not really wish to be part of the conversation.
Oh yeah.
So it's like you know, you're condoning sexism. It's no, I'm not condoning sexism. I just don't want to be part of the. I don't want to be part of the conversation. I can damn well if I want to play like one of the old Lara Croft games without thinking about, oh, this is sexist because she has gigantic boobs. Well, I damn well can. I mean, that's full. You have no right to judge someone for not wanting to be part of a discussion.
That's a fantastic point because it brings up something different. You see, so I only watched personally 2 of the Sarkeesian videos, and then I said, "Oh, I know what you're doing." Nope.
I've watched all of them. I kind of wish I didn't.
No, I
haven't watched
I don't. Good for you. You're not missing anything.
Oh, good.
There's one point that she brought up, which to me was like the revealing. You know, that was the moment where I said, "Okay, you're in this to make money. You don't really care." Because I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, even Zoe Quinn. And it was when she said that, you know, sexism. There was this game called Mrs. Pac-Man. I don't know if any of you guys played it. I have it on the Atari 7600, and they said it was sexist because she was being represented with a bow. This coming from the girl.
Oh yeah, the gender signifiers. This was to our listeners. This was an Anita Sarkeesian's Miss Male character video. If you're interested to see where this comes from.
So basically, she brings up a point that in any other circumstance and from anybody else is a valid point. Yeah, they're using that as a gender identifier, which maybe isn't fair. But that game was made when? 1980, I believe it was 1980 something, or I think that.
I believe it, yeah, 1980 something.
So
that was kind of required back then too.
So you have to position yourself. Let's forget about the technical limitations because she says, oh yeah, it is technically limited, but you can represent it some other way. Well, how? But okay. But you have to situate yourself in the time. You see, gaming is not this separate phenomenon that isn't affected by society. in society,
As much
women
as we
were
wish it was.
identified at that time, whether it be right or wrong by today's standards, by bows, dresses, and the color pink. So they used that to kind of try to bring in women because they identified with that. Do I think that's incorrect today? Yeah, but you cannot judge the past based on the present. And the same thing goes with the Lara Croft video games. I mean, it was a different time. This wasn't such a big issue as it is now. So,
That's a good.
like
That's
that
a
could
good.
also
That's a
be-
good point actually. Because the way I see games is the combination of different types of art forms. You've got the music, you've got the art. And art is usually culturally affected by society.
Yeah.
So of course that art style is going to change throughout the years. Definitely, I agree with that.
And the thing I want to add, like with what you've said, Julio, and it's that in regards to the civil debate and civil discussion regarding certain issues, I believe, at least with Nita Sarkeesian and her type, Nita Sarkeesian et al. I always say it's the message, it's the messenger, not the message, because quite frankly, like anybody, I could have told you that stuff like gender signifiers is lazy, stuff like stereotypes is lazy, the damsel in distress trope is lazy. I could have told you that. What I'm not going to tell you is that you're a misogynist for liking it, or that it's a misogynist trope inherent because of our internalized I'm like, no. It's a lazy stereotype written as a way of getting a quick story out there. It's not meant to be deep. It's not meant to be whatever. I could have told you
Can
that.
I add here that a lot of people seem to be I just can't get over Anita Sarkeesian going just sexism in video games causes sexism in real life. No, it fucking doesn't. It doesn't cause sexism in real life. Are you kidding me?
I was going to get to that point.
Like, the problem is that they're almost sowing hysteria here, where it's like, oh my god, if we have sexist games, we're gonna be sexist. This country is
she
doomed. Like, no,
constantly says that these
Exactly.
characters promote the wrong idea about women. I'm like, who's getting the wrong idea about
Keep
women?
in mind, guys.
How is that going to hurt women? Like, so if you like here, the Assassin's Creed Unity was a great example. Everybody's getting on Ubisoft's ass because they don't have female characters, and I'm like, well, first of all, it's the Renaissance. It's not Renaissance. What the hell am I saying? It's the French Revolution.
French Revolution.
And so, why would I should know this? I'm whatever. It's in the French Revolution. So why does it matter if there's like women were the housewives. They were typically not in action roles, and so you can't blame. Other than I personally think their excuse was a terrible excuse. Just before I say that, but
it was
the
bad
problem.
PR in
Yeah,
the
the problem
first
is that
instance,
like another thing to keep in mind is that women were not typically like strong, and so now I saw this whole like two sides where it was like you see people going, and then people said like who cares? The argument to that was who cares? They're games, they shouldn't be realistic. And so I'm saying, what the hell if you are saying if 2 years ago you said this is unrealistic, this boob plate or chest plate or skimpy armor or whatever the hell it is unrealistic and it shouldn't, and there's no point, well then why the hell are you saying that? And then 2 years later, you're saying who the hell cares about realism? It's a video game. That's like the epitome of hypocrisy for me.
Yeah, there is some hypocrisy with that, and I think what you're saying, I get what you're saying, and that like even if there's a decision to not have female characters in the game, I don't think people should then chop it down to it being sexism. I think one of you guys mentioned this earlier, that excluding a character or like a race or a gender or whatever is not discrimination, and I don't know why people think that. Like if somebody has something in there or not in there, that's not a sign of their racial bigotry.
Yeah,
or
exclusion.
whatever.
I also want to add one more. I might be rambling at this point, but when you have something like someone says, well, it means that representation of women is regarded as optional. Well, again, that's not sexist. Take a look at like Skullgirls, Hyperdimension Neptunia. All games that have absolutely Skullgirls has the only male character in Skullgirls is the freaking announcer. All right, and the two male characters.
One, yeah. They're adding two new ones. You're right.
All right, yeah. I love that game so much, but
and don't forget Arcane of Hearts.
Oh yeah, Arcana Heart, all female characters.
There's so many that are just like, and what about like anime? You don't see people attacking anime because like usually like there's free Boku no Pico, like those are all like just politically incorrect shit like everywhere. Okay, and nobody gives a shit.
Admittedly, anime is a different beast.
Yeah.
Even like from a from a theme perspective, I'm under the impression that just because an artist explores a certain theme, it doesn't mean that he glorifies it. In other cases, he can be against the same theme. Like I've seen cases where an artist puts a torture scene just to bring awareness to the fact that torture doesn't work in a sense, you know. So I think the way an artist represents himself is clear cut. There are different ways in which he can express himself to get to a certain point. And on that creative part, I heard one of the was the resource excuse, which is one which people don't understand, because from a technical perspective, resources are a huge issue. It goes into making a single character. There's modeling, there's just rigging, there's the programming, there's making sure that the person has the correct inventory. Exactly. So inventory, I mean, can be a huge issue when it comes to creating some of these products.
Yeah, knowing how much work Ubisoft puts into their products, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, okay, I should mention as a disclaimer before, because I know this AC Unity thing divides people. People need to know 100% of the facts first. In the first instance, because people may not know what we're talking about, in Assassin's Creed Unity, they announced that you're going to have co-op, and you're going to have up to 4 characters. However, they're all male, and then people were concerned. Oh, where's the female characters? You've had multiplayer in the past, and then they announced saying that, oh, well, we wanted to include women, but unfortunately, it was a reality of game development. It would have been double the cost, double the money, double the time, etc. And people were really pissed off by this, understandably, and saying that Ubisoft are being misogynist, that they're excluding women. But then later on, they revealed that. Well, the reason mainly for this is because every character in the co-op is Arno, and the Arno being the man.
And
wait, give me a second. Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Every character being the man, Arno, they're just palette swaps of him. Everyone can customize their character. When you appear in your friend's game, you appear as a customized version of the main character. It's just like with Watch Dogs and Aiden Pierce. That's why they did it. See, that's why I tell people that Ubisoft's excuse, I can see why people think it's bad, but it was bad PR. Like, they tried to give people the technological explanation for it, which they shouldn't have done. They should have just told people that this is a gameplay reason, that because of the gameplay, we wanted to have a single-player integrated co-op. It's not true co-op. It's just single-player integrated co-op. Everyone's playing the main character. They weren't trying to exclude women. They're just saying, we don't have any multiplayer in AC Unity, we only have single-player co-op. Therefore, every character is the main character. That was the only reason.
May I say something about that?
Go ahead.
Okay, what people also need to understand is women are different from men. Different center of gravity. They move differently when they do what's the name of it? When people move over buildings and stuff.
Parkour.
Parkour. So when a woman does parkour and a man does parkour, it's totally different because you have a total different center of gravity. So when you're moving and you're swinging and you're climbing, everything is different. So I can understand from the point of a completely new engine the technical aspect of that. And of course, it was poor PR for them not to either correctly explain the technical problems with that, including artwork, which is more expensive, and telling us that that you're basically playing the main character even in single player / multiplayer, which I think is awesome. That it's single player and multiplayer at the same time. Just by the way.
Yeah, and also it's funny that people were so quick to pull out, like on Ubisoft of all people, that they're misogynist or whatever. When, funnily enough, AC Unity has that female Templar who's going to be really central to the story, and also there's going to be the China DLC with a female character, and it's like.
Isn't this like the second DLC, the main with like a female lead?
No, I mean it's like. It's funny because I'm like, look, this is Ubisoft of all people. They've been working so hard on so many games, a lot of which are inclusive, including, The Division, where you get to play as men and women. Previous Assassin's Creed games have had female characters in multiplayer, and you had AC Liberation, which had a female character. Just because they had a crappy PR does not suddenly mean that they're sexist for not putting women in the game, especially when you're just playing the main character. I feel like that whole controversy was overblown. Like, it was ridiculously overblown just because they gave.
Well, of course it was overblown. That's the point. You need to something that I think we all need to kind of look at is when these things kind of happen. I mean, first of all, it obviously happened because we're in a time where everyone's looking at the most minuscule little thing to attack it. Second, it happened after Anita talked about it, if I remember correctly.
Did she?
The whole controversy happened after Anita talked about it. I'm under the understanding that in her last video, she kind of gets on AC's ass.
Oh, she does, yeah.
That. So, you know, it's kind of provoked in a certain way. You have to, you know, that's kind of something that we kind of need to look at when certain controversies happen. You know, we have to, okay, it's happening because of this. Not going to pay attention to it, and they'll just die down.
Hey, remember last year's controversy?
Wait, sorry, go ahead. What did he say?
Remember last year's controversy about E3?
Which one?
About
you mean the whole Xbox One Killer Instinct thing?
Which one was that?
No, look, just to clarify, are you talking about the Killer Instinct thing? Because I'll explain it to the viewers. Basically, last year, during Microsoft's E3 presentation, two people came on stage to talk about, to present Killer Instinct. After the trailer was shown, a bunch of the developers started playing. One of them was a black guy, one of them was a woman. And as they were playing, right, they're just, making up some faux pas, trash talk for the sake of excitement, because, they're trying to show off a new fighting game, which the FGC loves, by the way. So Killer Instinct is going on the screen, they're having a back and forth, right? And then the female developer kept saying, "Oh, you're so good at this game. You have a fight stick, blah blah blah," right? And he's just kind of like taking it in, like, yeah. And then she must have said something, I can't remember. And then he said, "Oh, just let it happen. It'll be over soon," which many people kind of groaned at because it sounded super cheesy. Like that sounded like a really lame line.
I had blocked that.
I know, but here's the thing. The reason why this became a controversy, and ironically blown up by sites like Polygon, Kotaku, etc., they're basically saying that don't just let it happen, it'll be over soon, is a rapey line, because that's what rapists say to rape victims are.
And the fun part of that, and the fun part which a lot of people didn't look at, is that in the same sense, it's actually racist, because if you think about it, it comes out, a black guy says it, and they're like, "Oh, he's referring to rape." Well, yeah, you're saying that because he's black. I can spin it too. Let's spin it. Yeah. You're a racist.
Let's spin it in the most ridiculous of ways.
I mean, you want to be absurd? Let's all be absurd. You racist.
The same thing as I don't know. This isn't real. Like, I'm not gonna say this isn't related to the conversation, but you guys know the whole Redskins controversy that went down?
I'm a Redskins fan, born in D.C. That's their name. We're not changing it. Period.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened there? Did they? Because I said that they've. What happened in the end?
I'm going to try to relate it to the conversation as much as I can. You have to understand the reason why this whole the whole feminist fiasco has happened in Gamergate is because we currently live in a time where everyone is trying to prove, because of political correctness, that they're not racist and they're not misogynist and they love everybody. So there's this incredible need to prove that you're not these things. So they look at Redskins, the Washington Redskins, and there's like a couple of Native American people who said, well, that's offensive. That's like calling black people the N-word and you have it on the slogan of your team, which it's not, by the way. But I'm not really going to get into that. I can if you want me to. But basically the whole way it's ended is that the owner's like, well, I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to change the name. And he's a white rich guy, so you can imagine what stemmed from that. So he's a white rich guy.
Damn it, Washington.
So he's a white rich guy, and what happened is that they passed a bill in Congress which pretty much eliminates the trademark. And they did an episode on South Park about it, which basically you can now make a company called the Redskins, or you can sell Redskins gear. You can do like all this stuff to try to force them to change the name, so they can sell all their mercs without losing the potential money. And it's pretty much a bully tactic to get them, to force them to change the team. And the funny part about it is that you can literally spin that to many other teams in the NFL. Like, I can say Cowboys offends me. Well, that makes no sense. Why does Cowboy offend me? Well, it promotes a stereotype of shooting Indians. There you go. Let's make that a controversy.
Sorry, you can go ahead in a second. Can I add that we were actually going over this, the reason I brought this up was actually, we went over it. Also, tell me if I'm talking too fast, I tend to do that. We went over this in my English class because we were trying to get points of view. And so what happened was we watched this video of this one woman, I don't remember her name, but she said it was offensive, and yet when they were doing an interview, there was actually a school very nearby her reservation that their mascot was the Redskins, and so and when asked about that, she said they're like, how do you think you're over in Washington fighting this, but how do you think this will happen? She said they're trying to see it in a positive way. They're not educating. I'm like, really?
No,
Like,
the funny
way to
thing
dodge
about
the
that is
question.
that they spinned it in a pretty cool way. Excuse me, spun.
Sorry.
Which basically they said that the defense that they used in itself was just so racist, and I shit you not. What they said is, well, they're Native Americans, they can use the word. Kind of like if you're black, you can use the N-word.
Which I disagree with.
That was the entire defense. You can do it because they are, in fact, Redskins. Like, are you serious? Really?
Yeah,
that's your
kind of,
defense?
yeah.
I thought this was about intelligent conversation. No, it's about political correctness.
Like, yeah. Also, when people bring up like dot or feather, like I don't find that I'm from West India. I don't find that offensive. Dot or feather, that doesn't matter. Desi is not a offensive term. Like, but yet people keep saying no. You have to be offended. No, I'm not fucking offended. You're being there. People are being racist towards you. No, they're not. Really. I mean, there's so much this like. Almost like just making people scared of everything, where it's like, oh my god, everyone's a racist, everyone's a sexist, everyone's homophobic. No, they're fucking not.
And I almost support the idea that I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go on.
I almost believe that the people who are doing this are intentionally doing this to kind of silence the conversation in general. What do I mean by that? Well, we all know, I mean, especially everybody in this chat, we all know that racism is a real issue in society. Let's step away from gaming. It's a real issue in society. I'm living right now in Spain, in Europe. I've experienced racism because I'm Latin. So I've experienced that. It's there. It exists. There also exists sexism in society. Women have experienced this. But by making everything so touchy, so explosive, you're delegitimizing the issue to the point that we're becoming so insensitive with racism itself. We're becoming so.
Stop triggering everyone.
Yeah, because if everything is a trigger, then it doesn't really matter, and people are now starting to ignore the issue. And I feel that that's what's starting to happen in gaming. You see, I was having a conversation with a couple of pro Gamergate people, as myself, the other day, and I brought up the point. Well, yeah, sexism is an issue, and we should we should address it. There's certain things that we don't really need in gaming, and personally, I'd love more Samus Arans. I mean, I don't got a problem with that. Nobody in Gamergate has a problem with that. And the idea that there's sexism in video game, because they've been bombarded so much, that you're a sexist, you're a misogynist, sexism is in gaming, they almost went to a point, no, it's not an issue, it doesn't matter, just let it flow, it really isn't an issue, there's no sexism.
Because nobody wants to argue. Like, nobody wants to argue, nobody wants to be labeled, basically.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because the other extreme is as dangerous as the people we're dealing with. If you go to the point that there is no sexism, kind of ask a real female gamer, and I'm not calling her a girl gamer. I hate that term. In itself, it's a messed up term. But ask like, for example, my girlfriend. She got on Twitch, and because she's a woman, and because there's so many women on Twitch who show their boobs to get views. I mean, that's not a secret. I'm not saying anything controversial. There are women in Twitch who do this to get views.
This is true.
Keep siren, bro.
Because she went Casey Tron. Sorry,
Casey Tron.
So she went on Twitch and she was questioned by a couple of dudes. Are you a real gamer? What was your favorite game? Because she was a woman. Because there's so many women who are doing this. So by delegitimizing the issue in the way that they're doing it, this is the reason why I believe Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn are not really feminists. They don't really give a shit about feminism in general. They love the fact that there's sexism, because if there wasn't any sexism, they would be out of the job. You see, by delegitimizing the issue to this point, you create another extreme. You create other people who go, well, it's not an issue. And then the people who are actually experiencing the issue go, well, wait a minute, no, there is an issue. Like, when I had a conversation the other day with someone who said, oh, racism doesn't exist in this country. I was like, whoa. It does, man. We need to talk about this. It does.
From the South, so I confirm that.
I think it's hard for people to have conversations without political agenda. Like, because the thing is, I can talk about it, we can talk about it, but I'm not going to go nuts and start pointing fingers at people and start labeling people over issues that anyone can talk about civilly.
May I also add that Yeah, actually, just Tuna, you actually you posted the like when it was you were asking like is you thought social if you think social justice isn't a problem is it or is only on the internet, watch this. Okay, I went on a fucking tirade, but it was like really race. I know there's racism. I've experienced some racism. Racism is a thing, but race does not drive every single thing in this country. Yes, someone literally
Bingo.
suggested racism drives everything in this country. It does not.
Bingo. I 100%
Come
agree.
on.
And that's an agenda that's been pushed by people who don't really want to talk about it. Because if you make everything about race, no one's going to give a shit anymore. Because they're going to say, oh, yeah, everything's racist, whatever, screw that. And the only thing it does is it does a disservice to everybody else. It does a disservice to people who are experiencing racism because racism is dead. I mean, we've heard, I'm from the States, and I know that anybody who watches anything regarding American politics, I mean, even if you watch frickin' The Daily Show, which is a satire comedy show, you'll know that the extreme right wing is pushing the idea that, well, racism doesn't exist anymore because we have a black president. So, that's not an issue anymore. And it's because it's a rhetoric that is sticking because we've made everything about race. That's why it's sticking, because it's not an issue anymore.
True. I feel like people. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Concerning these buzzwords that these publications use, like shouting rape, misogynist, sexist, racist, I feel like sometimes it's because they can't come up with a good rebuttal because they know they're
or they
wrong.
can't focus on the actual issues. You mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
They
So
say
that
was racist.
like I was talking to that what's the name of that guy from Gamma Sutra? I forgot him.
I'm not sure what his name is.
Yeah. I challenged him like, well, you're saying other gamers are racist and things, but you have come. There's news of you saying this in the past. Then he kind of like said, "Oh, this was a movement started by racist people from 4chan, racist and sexist people from 4chan." I was like, "No, have you looked at the hashtag? It explores diversity more than your site ever does." And he just kept on using these buzzwords. And like, in my opinion, my opinion of feminism, like what I've seen back in Zambia, is a woman looking for equal education opportunities rather than somebody just shouting at buzzwords because of something that they don't like on the internet.
And
that's
great
what
that you mentioned that. And mind you, to all my listeners and to everybody here, this is probably the only time I feel myself ever, so don't worry, don't get used to it. I asked this question on Twitter, I think the other day ago, and I said, like, how come it's taken a nobody like me to represent people's voices better than these websites? When is the last time Kotaku, Polygon, or whatever actually spoke to gamers, spoke to women and people of color and minorities and stuff like that? When's the last time they interviewed, like, they just spoke to different gamers and gave them a voice instead of just assuming they knew what they wanted and just having media critics?
I can answer that.
Yeah.
Because they're too busy demonizing us.
No, actually, they used to talk to gamers in their mind, and the way they talk to gamers is that they used to post these. I used to read Kotaku a lot, and I used to defend them because I do believe there's still some good writers in Kotaku. Like they did a pre-order, like stop pre-ordering article. This one guy did, which was fantastic in my opinion. I don't use them anymore, but the last time they did something regarding what they believe is talking to gamers, well, they think talking to gamers is posting X game according to Steam comments and Steam reviews. That's talking to gamers. That's the closest they get. I don't know if you've seen them. They do this articles when a new game comes out, like, okay, what, let's say, Skyrim is according to Steam reviews, and they just post a bunch of Steam reviews there that they find on the first page, and that's talking to gamers in their mind, and that's part of the problem, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Like they don't give people a voice. They don't give people a chance to have their say. They basically say, women feel this way, like, and I think it is obviously with this we're talking about ethnic people in the stream, but like the women thing is just as big, because when you read that article by the female game devs on The Escapist explaining what they think of Gamergate, it really paints this picture, this kind of hysterical picture that, like, the constant narrative of women are not welcome in this industry. Like, that's the message people are sending. They're sending it not just to gamers, but they're sending it to the wider general demographic. You know what that's doing? That's not inviting women to play games. That's basically scaring them off. They're saying that if you play games, everyone's going to hate you, which isn't true.
May I add to that? So I was actually debating someone who on this particular issue where he's saying it was all the more terrible because he was actually the author of one of my favorite books, but which is sad. but he told me that if I say that, hey, this is sexist, and you say, no, we don't think it's sexist, leave us alone, you are driving new people out of the industry. I said, no, we're not. We're not driving people out. If anything, we're the ones who are helping people get into the industry. We are not driving people out of the industry for not wanting to talk about sexism. We are, but I hate to say the other side, I really do, but the anti-Gamergate, I suppose, by publishing all these articles about how this is sexist, like Brad Wardle, like, oh, he was convicted, he's some damning evidence of rape. No, it wasn't. Like, they're painting this narrative of just everyone hates everyone in gaming, which nobody hates anyone in gaming, really. Like, it doesn't, like, I have a bisexual friend, right? I've known him since 2nd grade, and nobody cares if he's bisexual. It doesn't matter at all.
It's irrelevant to gaming, but you know, the whole I want to get back to the Kotaku and talking to people thing, because there's a lot more there going on than I think a lot of people are aware. I have a personal little story to share. I've been doing, as I said, I've been doing some YouTube videos about, you know, issues that I think are important in gaming. And I usually go, I still follow Kotaku on Facebook, mostly, because it's the best way for me to see the crap they're talking about without actually giving them the satisfaction of a click to their article. And, for example, they bring up one of those Sarkeesian articles, which they did like 4 in one day. It was ridiculous. It happened like last week. And I would comment and say, well, no, this is not something we should be talking about. Maybe you should talk about this, and I leave a video. And I kid you not, it's always the same guy. There's always the same guy who, whenever I post that, he does like, oh, Benghazi, oh my God, you know, a misogynist nerd, shut up, and he delegitimizes it. And it's always the same guy, to the point where I've told him, well, why don't you and me go and have a debate? And he's like, no. And it's always the same guy, to the point where I'm starting to believe that either he's an employee there, that's his job, because really, every single point at every single time of the post at every single time of the day, it's always the same guy. Right when you post, it's, you know, it's almost to the point that it feels like I shouldn't be posting in the website. I shouldn't be talking, because there's always going to be this one guy who's going to tell me, "Don't post this. This is crap."
There's
and
a new
Kotaku
PR
does
firm
nothing
in
about
charge.
it. And Kotaku does nothing about it. I mean, they have no problem with a guy just shitting on you, as long as, you know, you have a certain point of view. And they don't care. And why do you have a wall for people to post on? Or why do you turn your comments on if you're just going to allow people to be silenced and pretty much, you know, and have some guy to make you feel bad so you don't keep commenting? That's what I don't understand. And it's not just me. And whenever anybody says anything about a topic, you'll always see it's the same group of guys, 2 or 3 guys, and it happens in Polygon too. And I've posted at least in the last month, like, at least, let's say, 25 to be you know, to maybe under the number I've done, but 25 comments on different articles, different times of day, different posts, and it's always the same guy that whenever I disagree with anything, oh my God, gamer, Benghazi, shut up, oh my God, controversy, and they just try to silence you with that. So, you know, that's a little interesting story when it comes to Kotaku and talking to their audience and allowing portions of their audience to be well, shit on for no reason.
Yeah. Personally, I don't really like Kotaku. I look at them as clickbait for some of the articles. I don't know. I don't. Is that article real? The Patricia Hernandez one that said why killing female gamers online should be considered as rape.
I hope it's not.
Let me check that.
I hope it's not.
That's crazy. That's great. I saw something flying around, and I was like, you have to fucking kidding me. But again, I was like, Kotaku is crazy enough to write.
How many? Here's something. How many of these people know what real misogyny is? I mean, in real life, know what this really is like?
None.
I've seen it personally in my life. I grew up.
Okay,
with,
yeah, no. Really quickly, yeah, it's fake.
Yeah.
It's fake.
Oh, thank you, because if that was real,
the fact that it doesn't surprise us, the fact that everybody here believed for a second that she could write that demonstrates the quality of writer that she is.
But what Daniel said is actually like an interesting point of how many people have actually. Well, on one side, I feel like to give an opinion about something, you don't have to actually experience it. I think you can also give a perspective. But on the other hand, if you look at the people that are promoting this, video games are sexist, video games are racist, and that paid predominantly by these white cisgendered males, full of like middle-aged white guys.
I feel like that's a huge point of hypocrisy, really. Like, go on.
Like giving an opinion on diversity while your audience is not even diverse in the slightest bit. It's kind of like.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you try to.
They're not. It's not like they're not allowed to give that opinion, but it is just one of those things. I did mention this earlier, that it's funny that they're trying to tell people, especially minorities, what to think when they're not exactly in the right position to be doing so.
They have no black people hired to their sites.
Yeah, I have
anyways.
not yet seen a minority I have not yet seen a minority writer write any of these articles or be anti-GG, really, at all.
The funny thing is that there are other members who don't really know what they're getting into, but they're just following the peer pressure of how, everything has to be so sensitive, so they end up shouting rape, sexist, misogyny, racism, when they don't even know why they're shouting it in the first place.
Yeah.
They've just been, I could say, indoctrinated by this idea that everything these days is systematically racist or sexist. So
yeah, there's I know when I was having a sort of debate with one of those people that you're describing, it was the whole point was like, I brought up rape, and she was like, no, I do not want to discuss such a triggering subject. I'm like, excuse me?
Oh, don't get me started on triggers,
Come
man.
Like with triggers, like I told somebody, like, if I have to say a sentence if I have to start a sentence by saying, all right, I'm gonna say the word they, it might trigger you, but I'm gonna say it. Like, I don't want to start.
Well, right off the bat, the reason why that's a contradiction is because, I mean, first of all, it's an incredibly stupid contradiction, because just by saying that you're going to say something, if you're really, for example, like shell shock, if you're really, yeah, you already said it. That's the point. I mean, if you are really triggered by this thing and they tell you we're going to talk about this, you're already thinking about it. You're already triggered. If it's really a big issue for you, you're already thinking about it. So there's a contradiction right in what a trigger is to begin with.
See, I actually I'm gonna. Go ahead.
Also, if something triggers you, that is not my responsibility to watch what I say. It's your responsibility to be more careful with who you interact.
To watch what you hear.
Exactly.
Well, are you okay, Daniel?
I have a personality disorder, so this all spins differently with me than it spins with you, because I have triggers that trigger my bipolar, and so I avoid those triggers, right?
Yeah.
And when you're talking about this, I'm thinking, why don't they avoid these conversations? If someone says, hey, we're going to talk about rape in this chat room or whatever, then remove yourself from the conversation if you're not comfortable discussing it, or you get upset.
It's like if racism bothers me and I put on Birth of a New Nation.
But not only that, you see, you have an actual real condition. For example, when it comes to a bipolar condition, that's a real medical condition in many cases. That's different. You see, if I just cannot conceive, maybe I'm insensitive to this, I can't conceive how certain things can be considered triggers to certain people. Like, for example, how can talking about a real world issue, which you deal with every day, regardless, like, for example, feminism, racism, misogyny, sexism, whatever, how can those things be trigger? It's different. Like, for example, if you have shell shock, which is a real freaking issue, and I refuse to call it battle fatigue or post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever.
It just keeps on getting bigger and bigger every war.
Yeah, just watch the George Carlin the YouTube about it. But if you have shell shock, and you like hear about, and I know this because my brother has shell shock. Okay, he was a sergeant in the U.S. Military, and he went twice to Iraq and once to Afghanistan. So he did have for the longest of time shell shock. But if you hear like an explosion and that gives you flashbacks of certain memories, that cannot be considered the same as if you hear a word, you get boo-boo and shag, and you don't like the word.
Hold on a minute.
You're delegitimizing a real issue.
Can I ask a question real quick? Who was that woman who who got famous on Twitter for saying that she got PTSD from Twitter?
Oh, I remember that. I remember.
Who was that?
She got PTSD from what?
She said she got PTSD from people harassing her on Twitter.
Wait, was it a joke?
No, I don't think it was a joke. Hold on, I'll try searching up the person. Go
I know
on.
exactly who you're
People
talking
like
about.
that have to have serious issues already, right?
Yeah,
they have to be
if it's
seriously.
real. If it's real.
This is real. Hold on. Melody Hensley. Melody Hensley.
Melody Hensley. There you go.
She's the person who said she got PTSD from cyber stalking on Twitter, and she actually she actually talked to when war veterans actually brought it up here. I'll actually link it in the Hangout chat. Whoops, I
Wait,
closed
she brought
the
it.
Hangout chat.
Wait a minute. She brought it. No, finish it because I really that's not what I think it is.
Here's the article. Okay, so basically, she said that she claims to suffer from PTSD as a result from years of online harassment. She says she's too sick to go to the internet. She says she became a target, and she was attacked apparently after saying she said her PTSD was on par with war veterans. Right?
You see,
And
yeah.
so, I am not even joking. Okay, and then she there's a lot there's screenshots. There are screen caps of tweets from her talking about it. And so when she actually tried when one of the army or one of the soldiers brought it up with her, she actually said that she would be contacting his platoon officer and talking to him about it. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, woman?
It's really contacting a commanding officer over that?
Yeah, the commanding officer. Yes. No,
They
this is
laugh
not
at
even,
it.
this is not even like I'm not even joking right now. Search up Melody Hensley. She's famous for getting PTSD on Twitter. I'm not even joking.
It's really. I'm gonna try
Oh my
to steer clear from it because it just pisses me off because the whole thing it delegitimizes the real condition that family members of people who've been to war really have. It delegitimizes it. It makes it a joke. But it's really relevant to the conversation we're having because these extremists, and I hate calling them extremists because it would imply that they actually have an ideology, but these people, these money-making machines like Sarkeesian and company, they're doing just that. It's the same thing. You see, when they say, oh, I'm being harassed because I'm a woman, well, you're being harassed because you're an asshole. But that's beside the point. They're delegitimizing little, like, for example, something I very much disagree with that a lot of big YouTubers are saying is that, there's nothing wrong with Anita making her videos. You're right, there's nothing wrong with her making her videos, and people should watch it, even if you disagree with it. That's the part where I don't agree with. You see, because Anita exists, other female gamers, other female YouTubers who actually can talk about the situation because they give a shit and they're not in it about making money, they're not getting the views because everyone's focused on this jackass. And it's, and I'm sorry I'm cussing a little bit, it just this whole thing really makes me upset. And they're delegitimizing, they're making the issue a non-issue by doing this kind of thing. And the only solution to because a lot of people are wondering how do we win Gamergate, the solution, stop talking about Anita's, which ironic because I brought her up, but stop talking about her, stop watching her videos, stop
attention anyway.
Stop following her on Twitter because she won't lose. That's the part that we need to wrap our heads around. These people that we're fighting against, they're not going to lose while they're in the spotlight because they're in it to make money. You think Quinn cares that we don't like her? She's making $3,000 on Patreon. She thinks she gives a shit what we think? No, she loves it that we're mad at her because she'll get more extreme people to give her.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're certainly right about that.
I think why Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian are being brought up in the conversation is from a rebuttal point of view, they are using them as their main rebuttal. Like I read an article today, which one of senior developers at BioWare was claiming Gamergate was created to be sexist against Zoe Quinn. So I was under the impression that we haven't talked about Zoe Quinn or Anita Sarkeesian in a long, long time. They may have been events, but we have left them behind. They're irrelevant at this point. They don't even matter when it comes.
I disagree with that, unfortunately.
What do you mean?
I disagree with what he just said. You see, they're irrelevant to the point that what they say doesn't matter, but they're not irrelevant in general. If you look at the numbers, and I do have a picture of this. Let me see if I can bring it up. If you look at Anita's numbers before she got into Gamergate, basically defending her good friend Zoe Quinn, which I would even before we knew kind of the links that were happening that Internet Aristocrat showed in his videos. before we knew that there were some links between them. I didn't even think that she gave a shit. She just did it for this. And why she did it was the fact that if you look at her videos, if you look at her numbers before she jumped in, her videos were dwindling down. I mean, she couldn't even hit 1 million views anymore, which was, half of what she originally had. She started with 2 million, she went to 1 million, and she was at like 40,000, something like that. And when she got into this, then she published her video. She started becoming relevant again, and she came back up, and now her videos have more views than before Gamergate happened. So actually, she has become relevant in that sense. I do know what you mean. You mean that what she says doesn't matter, and I agree. But she's done a great job to make herself the spotlight again, to get herself money, because that's what they're doing. So,
yes, but because at this point, professional victimhood is. It could be. You could argue that professional victimhood is a victimhood is a job, and also, as you forgive me for cussing as well. I feel strongly about this as well. So
dropping F-bombs.
Yeah.
The way I feel about it is I don't even blame Zoe for what she did, because people need to make money, right? And if you're gonna if handing over a little bit of something gets you a little bit of publicity that then takes you further in life overall, who am I to tell her not to do it? I have a problem with the people whose job it is to root out this problem, not finding out about this problem, and people like her boyfriend having to bring. Imagine if her boyfriend never brings this stuff to light, and we never find out about this stuff. This stuff goes on until someone else makes a mistake. So I don't blame her for what she does. I mean, I spent 4 years as a United States Marine, and through 9/11. So I gave 4 years of my life to protect their right to do that, and so I don't blame them. I blame journalists for their integrity. I don't blame the people who did what they thought they had to do, as long as it wasn't illegal, and it wasn't. Some of the other stuff might be illegal, but that's not that specific thing. So I don't blame them, but I do blame journalists for not doing their job.
Yeah, you're right, because in my perspective, what I worry about a lot is in this dying age, it's like the easiest time to get into video game development right now, because you have so much accessibility. You can download development kits for free, and so you have these indie developers that are out that want to get their products out. But when you have these indie developers can't really give so much of their resources to publicizing their product. So when they have to depend on journalists to bring their product out, and they're showing a certain bias, it kind of hurts the product to a well-deserved game. I think that's what bothers me to a certain extent.
The young capitalist.
I like that.
All right, so yeah, okay, great discussions. I think that since this has gone on for a while and it looks like I'm not getting any new guests, I think that I'll probably wrap the stream up soon enough. If anyone wants to get anything out of the way, you can do that right now. I don't want this to drag on too long. I think it's gone on for like 3 hours now total, so
yeah.
It hasn't. Nobody else seems to be joining it. Admittedly, there were some people who I think showed interest. However, they weren't notified, but I think a lot of the people who wanted to get on did, so I think that's what matters. So yeah, if you have anything to add right now, we can wrap this whole thing up.
I
would like.
Yeah, I'd like to add.
You go ahead.
I'd like to add from the previous conversation. We were talking about when we were talking about the PTSD thing. I didn't really get to add that. So, I just wanted to vent a little bit about why do people think that no, it's not my job to care or to make sure that you are it's not my job to make sure that you're all holed up and cloistered in in this facade of safety where nothing offends you. Like, I have astrophobia. I don't ask outer space to stop existing. I just don't look at it. I don't associate with. That's not a huge that's not my it's just I have personal experience with this, and it's you don't need obviously all this I've never served in the Marines. I can't even friggin' drive, all right? So everything pales in comparison to what you guys have done, but really when people are saying I'm offended by this, so you can't talk about it. Well, no, yes, I can. I don't care. I don't need to. You shouldn't expect me to know everything immediately. So sorry for redirecting us back to the previous conversation. No, anyone who has anything more relevant to say, go ahead.
Yes, I just.
I'm going to say. Oh, go on, Daniel.
I just wanted to talk about the misogynist, and I always, when I read it, my mind gets mixed up, and I called it I call it some other weird name I can't even remember now. But for those who don't, for those of you who haven't experienced it for real, real misogynists hate women. And it's not a fine line. It's like a huge abyss between actual, saying stupid crap like you see on Twitter, and actually being a misogynist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I was 7, strangely enough, when I lived in the exact same house I'm living in right now, my mom was dating a man. She dated him for about 2 years. And this man used to beat her because of other women, right? Or you were late. He would use stupid excuses, right? So he just hated women, and he always beat all his women. But the things I saw him do, like he smashed my mom's head into the engine of a car. I saw her face get smashed into a meat grinder.
Ow.
This is a real misogynist, and he did other things that I didn't learn until I was an adult, that I won't talk because it's not appropriate to talk about on here. But these are real misogynists. Some guy on Twitter saying, I don't agree with your anti-Gamergate, he's not a misogynist, right? I don't even care if he's albino and male, and he's making 15 million a year, right? That doesn't make him a misogynist. Real misogynists are creepy, creepy people. Not on Twitter, not on Facebook, but in real life.
Yes.
These people are disturbed.
Yeah, like actual woman hating, because you're right, and I think Julio said this as well. The term has been diluted. Actual woman hating is a vicious and horrible thing. It's literally what's known as hostile sexism, when someone literally hates the very idea of women. Yet lately, anything that disadvantages women in any way, shape, or form, even if it happens to guys as well, is seen as woman hating. And I find that horrible, because you're creating a situation where someone can't do anything to women whatsoever, else will be labeled as woman hating. And I think that's terrible, because not only does it dehumanize men, it dehumanizes women as well. It's basically saying that we have to protect you from absolutely everything, and if someone does something to you that you don't like, just call it woman hating. It's really bad.
Yeah. May I also add? I actually have a person in my school who, I know for a fact that he actually does quite a few drugs. He's my friend. The friend I was previously talking about has gotten into a lot of trouble with him. He slashed my friend's car tires once, and it's at school. He's a prick. Forgive me. He's a prick. Okay, so we've seen him do things like he's called someone I don't want to say it, but the C word. I feel like a little kid saying that, but yeah, the C word. Not crap. The other one. I'm not that young. Don't worry, people. And then I've seen him touch their butts for no reason. I've seen him do things like that, and he sees women as nothing more than objects. That is, I'm not going to say that's not misogyny on the level that, say, Daniel described. That would be insulting if I said that was on that same level. But that it exists. It exists amongst everybody. There are horrible people. There are dicks everywhere. Okay, not in both terms. Okay, in both ways. Okay, but there are assholes everywhere, and you can't change that. But to call someone, probably the most horrible thing you can call them, especially if they're a man, to call them a misogynist, that is the most horrible thing you can call them, except something I don't really want to say. So if you trivialize it like that, you'll ultimately you're not helping the situation whatsoever. You're saying, if you say like, hey, I don't agree with you because, and then you say, oh, you don't agree with me because I'm a woman, is that right? And like, no, it's not. It was like, misogynist, like, and just like run out, plug your ears and start screaming misogyny, and they're just like, dude, I just want to talk to you. I don't even care. Like, it doesn't, whether you're a woman does not matter. Okay, if you can criticize, like, If you can criticize minorities, you can criticize me, you can criticize women, you can criticize men. It doesn't matter if you're criticizing freaking Obama, all right? It doesn't matter that they are. It doesn't matter because Obama is black. Every time you criticize Obama, that would make all Republicans or right wingers racist towards blacks because Obama is black. But
And
no,
some
that's not the
left-wingers.
case.
And some left wingers.
Some left wingers. But I mean, that's just my view on the whole thing, where it's like you can't trivialize something to such an extent where you can literally call someone anything at any point. So I want to bring up, and when people say like you can't judge me based on this, well, I'm just gonna say right now, anyone can judge anything for anyone can judge anyone for anything at any time except judges, ironically. So.
Isn't there a word for desensitizing something? The desensitization of something. There's a word for that.
Objectification.
Well, people use it a lot for like porn and violence, right? Because if you're in a violent situation, enough violence becomes something that's second nature after a while, and the same thing with porn. Then I think they've got some kind of medical term for it.
I forget what it is.
That's kind of what I feel like we're heading in that direction with racism, at least here in the U.S. I don't know about other countries. Racism, sexism, we're kind of, like you said, we're kind of trivializing it, and I feel like it's being brought up for things that don't deserve for it to be brought up for.
All right, you're right.
If I could say,
okay, go ahead.
If I could say the last word. Yeah.
I want to get something off.
First of all, to the Gamergate side, I would say continue what you're doing. You're doing a good job. But again, don't be too extreme. Make sure you check all your sources. Make sure you check facts before you retweet stuff on Twitter, because I know where it's at. To the anti-Gamergate side, I would say these buzzwords that you're using for your rebuttals, you have to be careful because it kind of spits on the people who are actually going through the same things that you're talking about. Rebecca Watson said anybody who doesn't want to listen to feminism is worse than making rape threats. Making a rape threat is more worse than not listening to feminism. So, when I hear people make such statements and there are people who are actually going through those things, I think she's kind of spit on the people who are going through those things want them to change. So that's all that I have to say.
Right, good.
Nice.
Can I get...
Go ahead.
Okay. A couple of quick things. Number one, a couple of issues that maybe we've ignored throughout Gamergate is like when there is a tremendous amount of desensitized violence in the internet as a whole. That is a separate issue that I don't believe anybody denies in Gamergate. Yeah, it's a little easy to insult somebody on the internet or over Xbox Live or PSN or whatever you play. Yeah, that's a separate issue that we do need to talk about in a different environment because it's become way too toxic to talk to these people about it. And by these people, everybody knows what I mean. So yeah, that is an issue, first off. It is an issue. Harassment in the internet, not to women, in the internet is an issue. Of course, nobody says it doesn't exist. Everyone's been insulted or called a number of names because, well, the internet's anonymous. It's different to call it to someone's face than it is to say it over the internet. So yeah, that's something we need to kind of tackle as a community. Agreed. But when it comes to the issues that are being tried to, some people are trying to bring up that aren't necessarily relevant in the way they're bringing it up. The only thing you're doing, and I'm kind of talking now to the anti-Gamergate, when it comes to the extremists that we're talking about, I'm not even going to say anything to you guys. You guys know what you're doing. You're trying to make money. Good for them. I want to talk about the people who are anti-Gamergate who actually care about feminism and those those kind of issues. To you, I'd have to say, first of all, don't listen to these people. They want to make money. They don't give a shit about you. Don't listen to the Sarkeesians in the world. But to you, I have to say, yes, there are issues that we do need to talk about. I agree with that, and any sensible person in Gamergate would say the same thing. But you need to be careful who you associate yourself with, because right now the issue has become so unimportant to so many people because it's been blasted 24/7 for this entire month and a couple of days, I think it's been going on, that right now anybody who tries to bring it up, you have to be really careful how you do it. is I guess my message to you. It's not that it's not something we need to talk about. It's how we talk about it. Don't, if you look up to people like Sarkeesian and company, you're not going to get a good reaction, because yes, despite the fact that behind all they're saying there is a real issue, they don't care about the issue. So if you want to talk about the issue, get on YouTube, talk to people. Everyone's voice matters in this, and that's I guess one of the messages I've been preaching for a long time, is that everyone's voice here matters, but only if you care about the real issues. So get on YouTube, get on Twitter, talk about it. Don't let X or Y people represent you, which I think is what Not Your Shield in general is about. Don't let these people represent you. Your voice does matter, and your issues are important, and we can talk about it. So
Well said.
That's perfect. Well said. All right. Has anyone else got anything to add?
I just want to thank you for not kicking this white, straight, cis male out of the chat room.
No,
after this chat, I'm gonna go check my privileges.
Okay, every time you wash your hands, check your privilege in the mirror.
I will. And make sure that I'm still a shitlord.
Yeah. And also, thank you for letting this annoying squeaker onto the Google+.
No, that's fine. I just want to, as closing statements, I want to thank everyone who joined the stream and contributed their voices and gave their opinions, and I'm glad this stream went well. So, as I said, I think there are one or two people who I wish I could have got on stream, but I'm just happy that I definitely got quite a few people. This definitely had the most people since I had to rotate several people. So, thank you all for joining, and obviously the stream archive will be up soon. So if you didn't tune in live, you can listen to the full thing. So, as I said, thank you for joining, and hopefully we can...
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for hosting the stream.
Okay, and...
Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yep, that's all.